Oh, wait, we still have Jeff on here. They ain't neither Jeff here.
Go ahead.
I call this meeting to order. This is the Livingston Parish Council meeting. Today is January the 24th. It's just a few minutes after 6 o'clock.
Oh, this is for that. Yeah.
It's now time for our invocation. I'd like to ask everybody stand, rise, same thing, and bow your head, please. Dear God in heaven, we come to you tonight thanking you for the breath of life. Father, at this time we ask that you be with the sick and the needy. May you lay your hand on the sick and heal them if it be your will. Give us the knowledge and strength and courage to do what's right and to make good decisions for the people that we care about. I pray for all military, Father, that you protect them and that everything goes per your will. I thank you for sending your Son to die on the cross, that we may all have eternity one day, Father. Forgive us of our sins. Thank you for everything. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, all right. It's the Pledge of Allegiance. And I'm going to ask Mr. Tab Lobel to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
You got it. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Miss Sandy, I'd like for you to call the roll, please.
Mr. Lobel.
Here.
Mr. Avery. Mr. Harris.
Here.
Mr. Gernhouse.
Here.
Mr. Ard. Mr. King.
Here.
Mr. Wascom.
Yes, here.
Mr. Talbot.
Yes.
Mr. Mack.
Here. All right, we got the roll call.
I know, we're Jeffless.
All right,
Averett's on, Jeff's on his way, he was working, Averett's on his way, he's working late, he'll be here shortly.
I'm going to ask that all silence their cell phones so that we don't have any interruptions during the meeting due to cell phones. All right. Of course, if you had an emergency, you could step out and address that situation.
Please.
All right, public input. Anyone wishing to address any agenda items will have their opportunity to come up whenever that particular agenda item is being discussed. You can simply raise your hand and we'll call upon you, based on raising hands and in order, all that good stuff. And you'll have to come to the podium and you'll have to, state your name and your address and all that good stuff and then talk about the issue or topic or line item that you would like to talk about. All right. So, presentations. We don't have any presentations tonight, but I would like to say something. We recently had some technology upgrades to the council chambers. And what they did, I'm not a technical guy, but I know that it's a better system. We're going to be able to now Bluetooth to these big screens we got in here. And we're going to be able to put like presentations and ordinances up there and kind of, if we need to, when we're going over that, instead of passing out all the papers and taking all that time to do that, we're going to be able to put, information up on the screens, so that, all of y'all can see that and make sure that, everything's going to be done to your satisfactory, And I just want to say thank you to a few people for this upgrade in our council building. And Mr. Wayne Glasscock of Channel 17, and Justin and Michael Thornhill, who are the owners of Nortec and Hammond, Louisiana. It's through such access that we are provided public, educational, and governmental programming, aka the PEG channel. And these upgrades are made possible through a small franchise fee that customers pay to their cable service providers. And this fee is equal to 5% of the cable or video service providers' gross revenues. It's defined by the Consumer Choice for Television Act of 2008. And I just want to say, I think that's a good thing, and I wanted to point that out there. And we're trying to improve our council and make our meetings more efficient and give you the data that you need to help us take Livingston Parish where we need to go. So enough said about that. Let's move on to the next line item. All right. So adoption of minutes. Okay. The December 6, 2018 regular meeting of the council. Do I have a motion to?
Let me ask one more. Can we do all of these at one time?
Mr. Moody,
Yeah, I
can we
think
do all
so.
these minutes at
Yes.
once?
Yeah.
One motion? All right.
Yes.
All right.
I
Okay.
make a motion that we do all the 6th, December 20th, and January 6th.
Adopt those meetings. I have a
Adopt those
motion by Mr. Tracy Girlinghouse to adopt the meeting minutes of December 6th, December 20th, and January 6th of 2019. And we have a second by Mr. Bubba Harris. Is there any discussion? No? Good. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Any opposed? Good. Okay. Let's move forward to line item number 9, discussion of residential recycling proposals. All right. All right, so the last council meeting, we discussed recycling in Livingston Parish. And I committed to contacting the corporation, the contractor, the waste disposal company in Livingston Parish that's currently responsible for disposing of our waste, in Livingston Parish, and ask them if they could come and speak tonight and offer any type of proposal or some method that would allow the people in Livingston Parish that choose to recycle, that want to do that good deed, the ability to do so. Let's just talk as a group and see if we could provide some type of service. So ask Mr. Donald Haynes with Waste Management Public Sector Solutions to come and speak on that particular topic. And I'd also like to say that when Mr. Donald is finished, if there's any audience discussion, on that particular topic, you'll have the right to do that when he's done. Okay. So you have the floor, Mr. Donald Haynes. Go ahead and state everything for the record.
Yes, Donald Haynes, Waste Management, Louisiana. I live at 1899 Chevelle Drive, Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Chairman and the council, thank you for having us here today. We appreciate your business for over 40 years here at Livingston Parish as your waste provider. And 1 second, sorry, I had a little error with my my PowerPoint. Oh, there we go.
It was the recent upgrade that allowed us to get this PowerPoint on that
very
screen,
nice.
by the way. I'm really proud.
I thought I was going to be doing this off of paper tonight, but thank you all for having us here today. First, I want to say that Waste Management, we are the largest recycler in North America. We have over 7 million customers in the United States, and you all in the Livingston Parish are a part of that 7 million. We want to continue giving you great customer service and giving the proper solutions to help our environment and help our sustainability long term. First, I wanted to give everyone a little bit of education about the current recycling climate here in the U.S. As everyone knows, China has put some tariffs on us. It's been a tough market so far. 95% of the world's recyclables are bricked and sold to China and remanufactured as other goods that end up back in the U.S. market most of the time. Before, the U.S. had an average of 25% contamination. And contamination, people might ask, what is that? That's a little bit of grease that you leave in the pizza box, and it's the little bit of Gatorade you leave at the bottom of the plastic Gatorade bottle. That's contamination. 25% was the average, and that was something we were able to cope with. With these new regulations, we've gone from 25% to 0.5%. China has put that regulation basically at its ports where it's a number that's tough for the U.S. to come about at the moment. With us being the largest recycler, we're looking at different options long term. Right now, this is a current market change within 2017 till now. We've seen it change pretty fast. So the recycling has become something that used to be profitable and something that was useful to help us have a more sustainable environment. And it's become a little bit more difficult for us to have it in a good fashion. This is a little bit more of an example of that, I said 25, excuse me, it's 27%, but this is telling you more about that 5% recyclables in 2017 and 2018. One of the things we want to educate people, what is the proper way to recycle? We want you to make sure that you are washing out your recyclables, you're cleaning them out, and unfortunately, with this type of tariff, you have to do the extra step of sterilizing them and making them as clean as possible when you are going to recycle. And unfortunately, whenever we have contamination in our recyclables, a lot of those items don't end up being recycled. They end up being landfilled because they are contaminated. Especially with the current condition, we've seen the price of recycling go from what used to be free at the gate at a MRF, which is a processing facility, to $95 a ton, which is 3 times the cost of the average price of household garbage. So we have seen a significant change. This is something that's happened in less than 2 years, which is a difficult thing to swallow. We're working to find a different way to do things. We ask people not to use plastic bags for recyclables because that is contamination. You're not supposed to bag your recyclables, they're supposed to be loose. If you are using cardboard, nothing contaminated. Food items, that pizza box, please don't put the pizza box in your recyclables. That's got a little bit of grease at the bottom of it. Also, this is another piece of education with us and showing folks the proper way, getting back to the basics. And we actually have materials that we would love to provide to the school system here in Livingston Parish and teaching kids the proper way to recycle. And if you're going to be entering a program. Some of the items that are accepted in this market that right now, and some that are not recyclables that folks a lot of times think that they are. We do have a couple of options for the parish if they're interested in entering a program. One of these options are parish-located drop sites with roll-off containers or a compactor with compact recyclables. We do this service for West Feliciana Parish. They have a site that's actually under video surveillance and monitored at all times by their sheriff's department to ensure that folks do recycle the proper way, and they do go to that extent for that service. People before put crawfish heads and all kinds of things in the recyclables, which is obviously not recyclable. Another way that we have a service that we offer at WM is our tracker service, which is actually an at-home kit that is a box that you, an individual in any market, anywhere in North America, you can take this box and you put your recyclables inside of it, and UPS comes and picks up your recyclables from your house, and it's gone. It goes to a processing facility that is WM's processing facility. Fortunately, it doesn't go to the one here because we do not own and operate the one here. And one of my second to last slides, if everybody's heard of the Phoenix Open, it is the greenest show on earth. It's coming up in January 31st through the 3rd. At that particular event, we do not waste a single thing. The food items get composted, the plastics get recycled, the paper gets recycled, every single thing. Nothing is turned into waste, nothing is turned into what people would call garbage. And That's how it's important it is to us. It's very important to us, and it's very important to us that people have options to recycle. We welcome everybody to go to Recycle Often, Recycle Right, which is our website that will give you the proper way of recycling in this market. Just because something has a recycling symbol on the backside of a container does not mean it is recyclable. Please go to Recycle Often, Recycle Right to figure out the grade of plastic or glass bottles or other products that is allowed in your community. We appreciate you as our customer for many, many years, and I open the floor for questions from the council.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Donald, we briefly talked the other day, when we were talking about coming to the meeting. The day, what's the possibilities, or what type of arrangement could we come up with to have, like, maybe biannually have some type of event to where people could bring their recyclables, that really, it wouldn't cost the constituents of Livingston Parish any extra fees, when they dropped off their recyclables. I mean, can you talk about that a little bit? I wanted the rest of the council
Absolutely.
to be able to hear that. I thought maybe, possibly, that might be a start to offering the constituents of Livingston Parish the ability to recycle. Can you talk about that for a minute?
Absolutely, absolutely. That is a service that we offer. We offer that particular service in St. Tammany Parish, has a recycling day, and we actually do that in partnership with a household hazardous waste day. Now, I don't know if that's something that the parish is interested in, but at Household Hazardous Waste Day, it usually allows up to a certain amount of cars of dried paint, electronics, other corrosive materials that normally would not go into a landfill. But we do have that day in correlation with a recycling day. People are allowed to bring their recyclables. We tell them not to bag them. Don't bag your recyclables. And we have them empty them into a roll-off, and we take those to the Recycling Foundation in Baton Rouge.
How often y'all do that?
That is in St. Tammany Parish is twice a year.
How do you bring it up there if you don't bag it? How do most people do that?
Well, if you can bag it for transport, obviously, but we would ask you just to open the bag, or we would tear it open and pour it in. And typically, those locations would need to be supervised. You'd have to have volunteers, staff, man those particular locations.
Okay.
And usually, it's a day-long thing. It's something that starts at 8, ends at 4, and that is a service that we offer.
I've done this in Walker, a few times, and it's not no small operation, man.
So what does it take? It takes like volunteers? I mean, can you give me a little bit more? Tracy, do you know?
Yeah, there's volunteers there. They had, in Walker, they had volunteers there. They had a lot of people. I think they might have had some of the sheriff's department, the trustees working there, but it's not a small thing. It's
So
not
you
like
gotta
some
direct
guy
the
standing there.
traffic and all
Oh
that
yeah, I
kind of
mean
stuff?
they sort what you have when you drive up. They go, paint, tires. I remember they had tires. They just, and they bring you to these different areas. They tell you to drive over, and they'll remove some stuff and everything.
I mean,
Mr. Mark
Go ahead.
wanted to say something about that. I was out there with
excuse
him
me.
one time.
So, Mr. Mark, come on up and, I'm sorry I didn't see your hand raised.
We've had 2 of those in the parish, and we did it at Sidney Hutchinson Park. We did it by way of DEQ grant. So we can do them, but the grants are no longer available. And it's gonna run you between 40 and 60,000. One runs about 40,000. One ran about 60,000.
And what we're referring to there, we're talking about getting rid of the hazardous
Hazardous
waste.
household waste, like he was speaking
I
of.
called about that last week.
What parts are so expensive? I mean, is it just,
Electronics is really expensive. Tires, I mean, everything is.
Yeah.
so you have to pay to dispose?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of people come out, the companies that take the recyclables, when they come out, and then at the end of the day, they tally it up and give us a bill. But we've been successful
When
2
did we do
different
that?
times. But that was with a grant, so the grants
that
are
was
no
with a
longer
grant.
available.
Okay.
I'd love to do one if you would, be willing to, fork
Donald,
out
do you have
around
any
60
idea what
grand.
St. Tammany pays to do like a recycling day? Maybe not the hazardous waste, maybe?
So the
recycling?
recycling portion of that obviously is significantly less than the hazardous waste. The hazardous waste is the most expensive part, as he was explaining. The recycling on the other end, we're able to explore some options with that, with the parish.
Well, Donald, I noticed from the letters that y'all are currently paying Republic, what, $95 a ton?
That's correct.
So, you know, obviously if Waste Management does a recycling day in the parish and we collect, 1,000 tons of recyclables, we're looking at what, $95,000?
Yes, sir.
Plus other related, I mean, that's just to put it, that's to dump it at Republic and the other related costs associated with running the day, your trucks and your equipment. Am I way off, or are y'all gonna do that out of the goodness of your heart, or? I mean,
There is a cost usually associated with those services. That's something a little bit tougher for me to calculate at the time, but we're able to run that. If the parish is interested in doing it, we can explore those.
So,
options.
yeah, Walker's got what, Tracy? Walker's got site recycling, they've got some places that you can go,
They did, I don't think they're doing it now.
They closed it.
they're not doing it anymore?
It became.
So like East Feliciana, you say East Feliciana or West Feliciana?
West Feliciana.
West Feliciana.
Yes, sir.
What's that, is that part of a contract they have parish-wide, or is it a related direct cost to them, or how do y'all?
It was a related direct cost to them. They wanted a recycling program, and at first they had a drop site with closed top roll-offs, which I think that, as Tracy knows, they had them in Walker. And these closed top roll-offs have slits in the side of them for folks to bring their recyclables to and dump them into the slits. Papers go in one slit, plastics go in the other slit. I think, glass, we don't, technically, just a little bit of an announcement to people, glass is not something in this market that gets recycled, but it is not counted as a recyclable. We do take it because it is single stream, but it gets recycled in one way that in other markets, it's a different way.
Y'all crush it and landfill it here, don't you? Is that basically what it is? It's crushed and then repurposed as a cover or something? Is that how y'all-
Sometimes, yes.
Yeah.
Sometimes it is.
Looks like sand.
So finish explaining the West Feliciana, what are they doing now? They're not doing that anymore? or-
No, so West Feliciana went away from the closed top roll-off containers at a drop site, and they went with a compactor. And whenever we gave them the options for a compactor, and they decided to rent that from us. And now this compactor is at a location where people bring their recyclables, they dump it into the side of it, and when they close the door, it automatically compacts. And what it accounts to is less pulls to the MRF to process those recyclables. Obviously, a compactor holds 3 times the amount of a 30-yard roll-off, so you're holding about 90 yards of recyclables in a compactor over time.
You got any idea of what West Feliciana's spending? What's their budget? How many times are y'all dumping it? You have any of those numbers offhand?
I don't have any of those numbers offhand, no, sir. But 1,000, like you were saying, Mr. Talbert, is 1,000 tons is a little high.
No, I understand,
Yeah.
on a given day, I'm just trying, so you, a dumpster, the compactor you said holds 90 tons?
That's correct.
You don't have any idea how many times they're cycling that dumpster, that deal a month, do you?
Yes, sir. I don't know offhand the amount of times they're cycling it per month. It is an on-call service for them. So when it's full, they have us come and pull it.
Is that something that's manned? Is anybody there?
Yes, it's actually a public works facility, and it's fenced in, and there are cameras on it that are monitored by the sheriff's office, along with other locations around the parish that they monitor, parish buildings and such.
I was curious.
And we do encourage, if the parish did go that route, it needs to be someplace that is manned, gated, because unfortunately, people don't follow the guidelines. They don't recycle the right way most of the time. And it's just an education piece, and that's why one of the things I wanted to do here tonight was educate everybody on the proper way to recycle. Recycling, most of it is plastics, and it is a good thing for the environment. But right now, we're in a little bit of a rocky road with the market conditions.
how much tonnage, I mean, just on average, St. Tammany's collected on recycle day? Any idea?
That I'm not sure. I'm not sure about the tonnage. I could find that out. for you.
Guess, or, I mean, what do you, is it what he said, 1,000 tons,
No,
$90,000 worth?
I don't think it's around that number.
You think it's maybe 100 tons?
It's,
Any idea?
I don't know. I don't want to tell you a false number. I'm not sure. I could get those numbers for you though.
Okay, it doesn't look like we're gonna be able to solve this tonight, guys, but I think we got a lot of good information. We're probably gonna need to regroup and discuss and figure out some way, some method. I think recycling is worthy, especially plastics. Plastics is something to me that just doesn't degrade, it doesn't break down, it's just there, you know. I'm talking about plastic waste, you know, just taking up space. So, I mean, I would like to see recycling in Livingston Parish, but at this time, I, you know, the cost to recycle, I don't think should be shared by those that choose not to recycle. You know, I think that we should have some way, shape, or form for those that choose to recycle to be able to, you know, because I think that's the right way to go. But there are those less fortunate that can't really afford to pay that extra fee to recycle, and I don't think we should force that upon them. So that's just my take. If anybody else has anything to say, I'd like to get a little bit of feedback from the constituents, the audience there, and then we'll move on forward to the next item.
Donald, do you have any cost, do you have any idea what the cost of that self, you know, the self-recycling thing, the, what'd y'all call it?
That box, the box that gets shipped to the residents?
That's correct. I believe it's a subscription-based thing, so the cost does vary depending upon your location.
So that would be a personal responsibility?
That's
thing
correct.
that
It
each
is
person would
personal
contract
responsibility. That's
with Waste
correct.
Management?
And it's more of a subscription-based thing. You can do it one time, you can do it monthly, you can do it anytime you want. It's something that you go onto our website, wm.com, and that is called our tracker service, recycling tracker. And you can recycle actually anything you would like. Fluorescent bulbs, batteries, we're talking household, big batteries, car batteries, electronics, old electronics that you have. We have huge boxes that come in. We actually got rid of a lot of computer equipment with this same exact fashion at the hauling company the other day. And it is cost efficient, and it's a great thing if you are adamant about recycling year round in a market like this.
So I guess at this time, that's probably the only option we got.
Yeah, people have to take care of it.
Yeah. Okay. I can't thank you enough for coming up here.
Oh, well,
Appreciate it, Mr. Don.
we thank you all for being a customer, and we know it's a hard job, and you know it's a tough one that you guys have. We appreciate you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Long. Just go ahead and state, I know.
Good
I know you-
evening, Muriel Laws, 26253 Popular Glen Drive. I'd like to thank Waste Management for your proposals. I would like to thank Chairman for having Waste Management. As you were presenting your proposals, I wrote down a few questions, if you don't mind me asking. Okay. I know money seems to be the main factor across the board here regarding recycling. But I do believe that there are things, decisions that can be made tonight in order to efficiently begin this process for recycling. The ecological impact is enormous right now. We can enter into a partnership with the school system, the businesses, with you to sort of mitigate some of the costs. We definitely can promote and market these kits to whomever would like to start right now and immediately to recycle. The drop sites, unfortunately for where I live, I would have to go all the way to Walker for a drop site, or either at the end of 447. So definitely, that is something that we can also work on as a partnership. I am willing to work with you and with the council to make this happen. It will cost you nothing for me to work with you. I'm not asking for a penny. I'm just asking for results. And we can't do that by just saying money. because there's other ways to get around money. Okay? So I'm hoping that tonight, we can at least agree to market. It shouldn't cost the council too much to just market the options, or even Waste Management in partnership with us to market those options for the kit, at least. I know there are senior citizens that will not be able to leave their homes and go to a drop box, but they did express concerns of wanting to do that, the recycling. So I'm asking, well, initially I was asking, and I'm hoping that we can put it on the ballot for everybody to vote on it, but if that is denied, then I'm asking tonight for leadership before me to at least agree to market what the options were tonight to the public out in Livingston Parish. Thank you.
Thank you. Come on up, Mr. Larry. Go ahead and state who you are. Where you
Larry
live.
O'Neill, I live in Marpaw, down on the Petty Admit River.
Where is that at? No.
All right, what, this whole part, recycling is, I think it's a great idea. That the people through the whole parish, they throw trash out, it's in their yards, everywhere. The wind blows it into the streams bring it down river to our area. If this latest flood event that we had, if people had been able to see the piles and piles of styrofoams, bottles, cans, everything else, refrigerators, water heaters, so on and so forth, in our rivers. So if there's some way that people could recycle some of this stuff instead of going to our streams, and eventually, I know you've all seen on TV, they're trying to clear the oceans up. This is part of the stuff that goes out in the ocean. It goes through Lake Marpaw out into the Gulf, out into the ocean. So anything we can do as a parish to slow down the trash going out, I'm all for it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Larry. Is there anybody else? Oh, yeah, come on up.
Hi, I'm Robin Parrott at 13464 Arnold Road, Walker, Louisiana. I just wanted to bring up a point. I talked about the Keep Louisiana Beautiful conference last time we were up here, and they're actually taking applications for grants. It goes up to $8,000, but that is an option, maybe even just to pay for educating the parish and the people on recycling and those issues. So if you'd like to get with me, Mr. Girlinghouse, and we can talk about that.
Sure.
And how we can apply for that grant and see if it's, available. And there may be other grants that are also available to help pay for this. So,
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Okay, is there any discussion from the council? Did I miss anybody? Is there any discussion from the council?
Donna, how long would it take Waste Management to, put some costs together for, just for specific, situations, like, what would, what would the, fixed cost be on a recycle day, and then, the tonnage price, so we could, put a guesstimate together on, what it would cost the parish, or, how can somebody find out about these containers and what they cost to ship? How do we go about finding out what those costs are so we can promote them within the?
So first, yes, we're absolutely able and willing to work with the parish in getting a quote together for those services. We offer that service, and we're happy to explore the options with you, because there are many different ways we can do it. For the second part, going to WM.com, you can get our tracker services. That is available at wastemanagement.com, which is simply WM.com, and it is called Waste Management Tracker. And you're able to type in your address, and it will give you an immediate quote for.
So basically, it's just a matter of promoting your website is what we need to do to try to get people, if they want to start the individual
Absolutely,
process.
and along with doing that, I definitely ask folks to please promote recycle often, recycle right, so that they are recycling the right way. That is adamant. It's a tough thing. Recycling sometimes becomes something, I feel good about doing it, but if you're not doing it the right way, it's null and void. It doesn't become something that's good for the environment.
So Chris, if we put links up on our website to that stuff, is that legal or not? If we linked waste management and recycling, initiative where people could come to our website, find the link and do it, that's a private business that we would be promoting. Is that something that we could legally do, given the situation that we're trying to promote recycling?
Well, I think it goes, well, you're already in a contract with this company to provide recycling services to the parish, so you could just say, this is one of our waste management companies, and they offer a recycling service that's provided through this vendor. I think that's totally appropriate. Yes, we can do, that'd probably be a good place to put it. Yeah, put it on the website.
Good place to
so people
start.
can just get the-
If we're gonna try to promote this, then to get the link, to get the information out, we've gotta start, we've got our website that we could utilize. I'm just trying to figure out, we don't really know what costs are on some of the other stuff, and we gotta get that, but we
Well,
could.
if there was another vendor that wanted at equal time, you could offer them, these are the vendors offering recycling services in our parish, as long as you treat everybody equally.
Okay.
That's a great idea.
All right.
We're happy to provide that widget to you to route to our website. We are.
Okay. Well, we'll,
Okay, good.
maybe the young ladies in the office can get with you next week and try to figure out how to get that hooked up, or get
Absolutely.
you with the webmaster on our website, see if we can't get some link on that. and see if we
Absolutely.
can get that.
Absolutely. I don't think that's something we definitely can provide.
And in the meantime, maybe we could, give us some time to put something together to see what maybe one of those recycle days would cost, and
Maybe we can look for
Yes, sir.
corporate sponsors to help us do that.
maybe we
but-
can look for corporate sponsors to help us do that.
All right, thank you, John.
Hey, we have one more, that wants to discuss something on this particular topic, and then we're gonna move on to the next topic.
I'll be in the city back listening. My name is Willis Laws. I live at 26253 Poplar Glen Drive. It's my wife, Muriel. And I've been sitting back listening. What I'm confused about is the size of a city and the size of a parish. And I've heard the money issue about we can't afford this, we don't want to force this on people. Denham Springs is a city. It's not as large as Livingston Parish. They can afford it. They got it. I'm trying to figure out the problem. We have more constituents in Livingston Parish than they have citizens in Denham Springs. So can somebody explain that to me?
Well, I'm on the city, my district represents the city of Denham Springs.
Okay,
And I served on the Denham Springs City Council when we implemented
okay.
recycling. And the way we did it is, we have these regular garbage cans that people put trash in, but then it wasn't voluntary, we mandated recycling for everyone in the city. So when they get their city water bill, they get charged for trash and recycling. Yes, we did. And so, one day a week, they have a separate garbage can with a green lid, and then everyone throws their recycles in that and takes it out to the road. But because Denham Springs is concentrated, smaller than the parish, we bid it out to get the lowest cost for recycling. And then we just pass that on to the customers, and it's added to their bill. If you did that parish-wide, the trucks would have to drive so far,
That's what I was gonna ask. Yeah,
then the
so-
cost goes up. So as Denham Springs is concentrated, we're able to keep that cost down in recycling. And I think that's why the parish has never done it as a whole, because they're spread out so far. You understand what as Mr. Talbot said, you know what I'm saying?
I can't understand how
I'm sorry.
that the parish encompasses many townships.
That is correct. And I think, does Walker have any mandated recycling like Denham or
No,
no?
no.
They used to do
I think,
recycling.
I think what you're trying to say is this, when you take up the money, because the municipalities are within parish, but they collect their own taxes, some Walker sells gas, Denham sells gas, so at the end of the day, the ratio of money that they have per their budget is more. It is in Walker. I mean, there's not a lot of money left over at the end of the day here.
The money they collect is more than what's in the parish.
Well,
By a ratio, there's more.
Per capita, yeah.
I guess in essence, Walker has mandated garbage pickup, meaning that every resident of Walker is required to pay a garbage fee and have their garbage picked up. And every resident of Denham is required to pay a garbage fee and have their garbage picked up. And, you know, I think the Denham fee is right at $20, 17 for garbage, and right at $3 for recycling. However, this parish does not have a mandated garbage pickup. This parish allows the individual residents to contract with a company to pick their garbage up. We do not have mandated garbage. We do not bill as a parish to have the garbage, you know, fees collected from our constituents. And I think Mr. Harris can attest to this. This was tried in the past and has never been successful, you know, to create a mandated parish-wide garbage pickup. So because of the sparseness of some of the customers, you know, the garbage costs in the parish are more expensive than those cities because of the less dense, you know, population throughout the parish. Not that we don't have more people, they're just not concentrated in as tight areas in these cities. So ultimately, to be honest, the consumer would be the person to bear the cost of this. If Waste Management wanted to put recycle sites throughout the parish, they could do it at this point. But the cost of those sites would be passed on to the customers that contract with Waste Management to pick their garbage up. And so I think it's been an economic decision, you know, up to this point, because I think to make it successful, we would have to mandate garbage pickup. And then the parish would have to bill, because these big companies are not interested. I mean, there's a cost related to billing, and I think that that those companies that provide the service to these cities, you know, ask the city to pay the bill, and they ask them to collect the money from the consumer. So I think the business plan that Walker has with garbage and the business plan that Denham has with garbage doesn't match what the parish is doing at this time. So, you know, we would have to completely change the way we do business with respect to garbage. I think to mandate, you know, recycling throughout the parish and then have the consumer pay for it. You know, I don't know that there's a stomach for that now. I mean, you know, we talked about this the other day, that, you know, for this to be successful would have to be probably mandated. In my district, I don't know that there would be a lot of pushback. There would be some problems to the north, but I think for the most part, a lot of it's done. I'm not sure in some of the other council districts if you could even, you know, if those people even would consider mandated garbage pickup. So, I mean, it's a conundrum, and so consequently, you know, I think that's why that you're sitting here in this situation with no alternative. I understand what you talked about at the last meeting with respect to, you know, the previous waste supplier, you know, another contractor that provided it, but at the end, they were landfilling the recyclables because it was too expensive to recycle the recyclables. So, I mean, I guess I understand what the concept is, but I think this is gonna have to start small and, you know, initially to try to get this thing, you know, parish-wide. We're gonna have to try it you know, figure out what the costs are, see if we can find some way to, you know, how they're gonna be dispersed, and see what the, you know, mood of the parish is. But, I mean, I think that's the best we could hope for at this point in time. Am I way off base, or?
Well, I can tell you this much, in the eighties, of course, I'm an old man up here, but in the eighties, when we tried this room wouldn't hold everybody to show up for the meetings, you know, against it. So we finally just dropped it and let, Waste Management just pick up the trash, and that was it. And you'd be surprised, that they still got a lot of business out of it. But the people didn't want to be told that they had to have garbage pickup. And I don't know how that would fare today with people, but probably about the same.
Not good.
It's, because the whole parish is different, and, you know, we've talked about that all the time.
Right.
In the very rural areas, a lot of people, they say, well, I'm burning all my stuff. You're not supposed to, but they do. I got a question for Mr. Donald. Thank you very much.
No, I got one more.
Okay.
comment to make.
well,
I do believe Walker is growing. I do believe the population is becoming more dense. What happens when down the road we come up with a problem of overpopulation in a dense area with the same problem with recycling. We don't just do it because people don't want to do it. I'm sure you said you were back in the 80s. This is 2019. It's a long ways away.
Yeah, we get it. We definitely get it.
Yeah. That's a good question. I think at this moment that we're gonna try to put something together to offer some means of recycling, and then we'll just continue the conversation to see maybe one day things change to where we have more to offer. But for right now, there's a lot of problems in Livingston Parish, and it's a great parish, and I'm very proud of it, but we got a lot of problems, and we got a lot of things that need to be addressed. And recycling, yep,
And what's the process
it's
of
one
getting
of
on
them,
the
it's on the
ballot?
list, but there's a whole lot of other things we need to take care of, and, we just really can't afford to dedicate a whole lot of money to that right now. So I think what we're gonna try to do is work something out and provide a way to recycle, you
Can
know?
you tell me the
and,
process to get it on the ballot?
That's something that we can talk about at another time, but, there's a whole lot to putting something on the ballot, and we really don't have a whole lot of time to talk about that right
I
now.
appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, so,
I wanted to ask just Mr. Don one thing.
we got one more question.
So, Mr. Don, do you think it's feasible in these large subdivisions, like, I mean, this is a huge subdivision, could their HOA contract with someone, not necessarily just Waste Management, but any waste handler, to handle their recycling needs?
Yes,
As an individual, you know, they said they don't mind paying for it. That's what they've been telling us the past 2 meetings.
Right.
So maybe their head could get with you or anybody else to try and work out a plan for their own subdivision to handle their you know, recycling.
It's not just my subdivision.
I know there's many more, but,
Okay.
yeah, but I mean, it works well in a condensed area, so I mean, maybe, you know, that'd be somewhere to start, you know, for you guys, that if y'all wanted to check and see what it would cost for your people in your subdivision to start. I didn't know whether, it hadn't been asked, is why I was, you know,
We can explore the options with the customers.
yeah, I mean, and you would have to, I mean, you could definitely do it, you know, well, it's $100 a month, they go, oh, we ain't doing that, you know, but it would be their option to do that, you know. Anyhow, that's all I
Okay.
needed, I appreciate it.
All right. So just wrapping that up, we're gonna get some prices on what it would take to have some recycling days. And we're gonna put that little link on our website and try to promote, this, you know, where they send the box, you know, to the address and you can recycle through that. And, we're gonna talk more. This conversation's gonna continue. We're gonna continue to push forward with recycling in Livingston Parish. As cost effective as possible.
That's right.
Absolutely.
All right.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
All right, thank you,
all
Mr.
for your time.
Donald.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so, moving on.
Moving on.
All right, number 10, Planning Department, Mr. Sam DeGeronimo, we're gonna move him to the bottom of the, no.
Too late.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, this is a development that came before you guys back in January of 2018. The name of this development is Morning Side at Juban Lakes. It's along with a senior citizen living quarters in the center of this thing. I think the developer, well, I know the developer. We went out there and made the inspection on the townhouses. Beautiful complex. It's in Mr. Bubba Harris's district. Mr. Jeff, I apologize. I thought it was in yours, but it was in Mr. Bubba's. They are real close. But the actual townhouse is complete. Real nice facility. Mr. Bubba can be of that. Now he's wanting to build his senior citizen living areas in the center of it, which was approved by the council back in January of 2018. He wanted to get some grant money secure, and I think he's successful now, and he wants to move forward. But he wants to delete some of the parking spots for our senior citizens. Probably maybe because some of them don't drive, and he wants green space, I don't know. But it's a recommendation of the planning department to approve this waiver, but I wanted to pass it on to the council for their recommendation.
Now,
Now-
the spaces that he's deleting, still keeps the number above the,
The state.
Now, let me
State
add to it, Tracy, just to help, and this might answer your question. He still exceeds the federal guidelines
okay.
as far as the waiver's concerned. I think the federal is .68,
Right.
and he exceeds that.
And I think our requirement's like 1.5 and he's
2.3.
2.3 and
Yes.
he's trying to scale
Right.
down to 1.0, is
Yeah.
that what he's trying to
He's
do?
got a 126 and he's gonna have about 123 parking area. So, I mean, it's real close there, but it does exceed the federal guidelines.
All right. Do we
So
have
I
a
wanna
motion
come to you
to,
guys to ask to
do we have a
grant the
motion
waiver.
to accept this,
Bubba, Bubba.
waiver? We have a motion by Mr. Bubba Harris.
I'll second.
We have a second by Tracy Gurley now to, move forward and accept this waiver. Is there any discussion from the audience? No?
This is no brainer.
All in favor? Aye. All right, we have,
Thank you,
is
Mr.
there a
Chairman.
10?
No,
There's
Parish
two.
President, Parish President.
Have a good weekend. I'll
All right,
send
Parish
you
President's
emails, make
report?
Real quick, just an update on the Laurel Ridge Levee project. We've met with Congressman Graves and Parish President Matassa, as well as Mayor President Sharon Weston Broom, back in December, trying to find a pathway to move forward on a regional drainage approach. We were asked to consider some things in that meeting, one of them between President Matassa and myself and the Pontchartrain Levee District, on whether or not we could come to some terms on our lawsuit that we filed that would just at least allow their engineers to move forward with design. At that point, they did not want to do any additional work because of the threat of the lawsuit. Getting with Mr. Moody, talking with their attorneys, we have reached an agreement that we'll sign in the morning that basically stays the lawsuit while it's still pending. It's there to be moved forward should and when or if they're not able to satisfy us either through mitigation programs that will offset whatever adverse effect the levee district has on us, and or whether the levee is itself reworked to where it doesn't have any adverse effect on us. And we in principle have agreed to that. They in turn have agreed there's no construction work that will move forward at all until we're satisfied, and all this will be in writing between all parties, that we're all satisfied that we will not be adversely affected. If at the end of the day, we can't come to an agreement on that, the lawsuit moves forward as agreed upon in writing as it stands now. So we're gonna sign that in the morning. I just wanted to update you guys on that and let you know what was going on. The hope here is that we will not at the end of the day be adversely affected. The offset is that there is now funds available through Congressman Grave that he was able to successfully secure, that he feels like can be used for mitigation projects should at the end of the day they not be able to come to some agreement that we won't be adversely affected. I still at this particular time am convinced we will be, but at least we have some means now that they can move forward with their design phase. So I just wanted to update y'all. If you get any questions, we haven't backed off the lawsuit, but we will stay it until, give them a chance to see what they can do. Thank you, council.
Thank you. Okay,
Oh, I'm sorry.
that's okay.
Dunn Road, wanted to update real quick on Dunn Road. I know, some of you have had some questions. I know, Congressman King's had a lot. So Chad with, Fort DeBlas is gonna update you on where we're at in the process.
Coming.
They got a point, they got a bump.
Hey, Mr. Chad, could you go ahead and state who you are?
Yeah, Chad Baucus with Fort Water. Good evening, Chairman and Council. Dunn Road, so basically we're getting ready to turn in a set of plans. That's the 95% for final plans this week. We'll have 2 more submittals after that, but the, right now it's scheduled to be let this summer. The plans show, we're doing a 20-foot wide road with a 1-foot paved shoulder, so it's roughly gonna be basically a 22-foot, it's gonna look like a 22-foot road, but it's gonna have 1-foot paved shoulders on each side, so.
Oh, that's gonna be fantastic.
It also, we have about 2/3 of the road that's gonna be closed in with storm drainage. And that's really mainly for safety and kind of get some of those areas where the curves are
So it's
bad.
not gonna be curb and gutter, but it's just gonna have the
That's
catch
correct.
basins that are in it.
That's
Okay,
right, that's
okay.
right. So anyway, we're, in the curve areas too, we're widening those pieces out even a little bit more than that, so,
Okay.
trying to stay in the right of way and get the thing complete, so.
And that's gonna be major, that's a major cut through road,
Yes, sir.
and lots of people living there.
Yeah.
Alright, so you say summer, you thinking,
I think they got it set for July of this year, so I mean, it's either June or July this year that's when
Okay.
the let date is, so. Yeah, so,
somebody asked me what the let date actually meant, and that's when they
yeah,
let
that's
it
when
out
it's
for
actually,
bids.
that's correct.
Usually they start within 30, 45 days?
Yeah,
after
it takes
that?
a little bit longer for DOTD. It's
Since
not-
it's a.
probably a 60 to
NBA.
90 day period before the contractor gets their contract back, and then the notice to proceed from there. so.
Okay, all right, so the end of the year for they would probably,
No, they'll get cranking before the end of the year for sure, yeah.
great, sounds
Any other
good.
questions? Yeah.
No, man, that's
Thanks for
fantastic.
that.
Buddy Ellis will be about in the same path too. It'll be this summer as well.
What about
so.
the roundabout at the end on the Lockhart end? I know that's the DOTD project, but.
Yeah, I did a little bit of investigation on that. They're basically in the utility phase of relocating the utilities, and I think they're waiting on some of the major utility guys like Demco, I think. Is that Demco in that area? Anyway, to
Yeah.
move some of those poles and some of the AT&T lines, so they've moved a few things, but they're still waiting on those
I
guys to
think
move
the
those.
sewage and the gas is out of the way, but
Yeah,
they still gotta.
and I think that contract just for the
Water.
utility relocation is probably a year long, so it takes a little while to get that
It's
going.
been a while
Has
since
it
they
been?
started. Oh,
Okay.
yeah, it's been a long time since they
Yeah,
started.
and they get rain days and all that, so
Oh,
don't
yeah,
tell 'em.
absolutely. All right, Chad, we
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Yes,
Thanks
sir.
for the update.
Thanks for the
Sure.
update.
Thank y'all. Have a good night.
Thanks.
All right, moving on. Item number 12, Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Preparedness, Mr. Mark Harold.
Don't look so happy.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman.
Good evening.
Council. As you know, we did an RFP process for our debris cleanup. It was at April the 4th is the end of the term. So we put it out last year. We just waited till after the holidays to go ahead and score everything. And I think we're blessed. Ceres is the preferred contractor again. They scored the highest, and then also their prices were the best. You don't have to count the pricing as a sole thing, but the whole process, they came out ahead. So I'm asking for a resolution authorizing the parish president to sign the contract.
I'll offer that.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion on the floor to have a resolution to approve debris removal and site management contract awarded through the RFP process and to authorize the parish president to sign the contract for 2019.
Well, it's a one-year contract with 2 one-year options like we always do.
Mark, so this council can't obligate the next council to a contract, so how can it,
According to Mr. Moody, we can.
Yeah.
I checked that.
There are certain contracts you can, and certain employment contracts you can't, but the law does allow you to get, to go beyond your term, particularly if you get a price break. Otherwise, you would always beat yourself out of a discount in price for getting a longer-term contract. But because there is always that concern, you have an out in this contract not to renew it. So it's a one-year contract, renewable. So the next council, if they choose not to renew it, they're protected.
that would be their option?
Well, it's
Yeah, every year, at the end of the contract, I bring it before the council to approve the one-year extension. So you have a one-year contract with 2 one-year extensions.
what you're doing is tying down this price for 3 years.
I got you. So, Mark, when did we approve the RFQs to go out on bid? Or is that something your office wrote?
We do it. We've been doing it ever since I've been here. And it's an approved RFP through GOSEP and FEMA. They go through and say, you're good, change this. Different laws change every time we turn around, so we go through their attorneys.
I was looking at the backup information, you know, when the original agenda packet went out, there was a note that they had requested information from your office. I'm looking at our packet now. There's no supporting documentation on 12, like how the scoring went or what the bids are, but in the past, we've received that information at different times. I mean, is there any reason we didn't get it this time?
No, I just, didn't want to get it out on the street till y'all, until it became public documents. If you want it, I'll provide it tomorrow. I have nothing to hide on it. It was it's pretty cut and dry.
So when this is a 1 year with 2 one-year options, if we're in the middle of an emergency, does it automatically go to the next year, or do we have to approve it again?
Oh, no, you've got to approve it. It's-
Even if we're in the middle of a disaster and they
You don't
work
have a
it?
choice. It's a one-year contract. It'll start April the 4th, April the 5th, and roll.
April the 4th of next year.
And then
So-
at the end of it, before the end of it, I'll bring it back, and, you tell me if you wanna renew it for the next year. That's the same way we've done every
Yeah,
year.
well, yeah.
So-
I didn't know.
What all services is this contract gonna cover?
All of you, every bit of the debris. Just like it has been, we haven't changed anything in the, requirements. It was basically a cut and paste from the last two RFPs that we put out. The only, we changed just a couple of things. I think the main thing that we changed in this one, because of the issues that happened, in Texas, when the storm hit Texas and hit Florida, the contractors were bailing on the counties and the municipalities, chasing 3 cents extra a yard here, 6 cents extra a yard there. So the only thing that we put in this one that we haven't had in it, and that's to protect the parish, is liquidated damages. So if we, after we have a storm, we look at it, make an assessment, we need 20 trucks, 80 trucks, 6 trucks, and they're given a time frame to get them here. If they're not here in the proper amount of time, we start charging them liquidated damages for every piece of equipment that's not here on time. That motivates them.
Just to head that off.
Well, it stops them from chasing 6 cents, 8 cents a
It's
yard
not gonna be
extra.
beneficial for them to do it.
It would have to be hundreds of dollars a load more to justify.
That's the whole reason by having somebody under contract, so that they're there and available.
Well,
when you need
now, a lot of people had everybody under contract,
Yeah,
when the storm hit Texas and hit Florida at the same time. There's only so many pieces of this equipment to go around, so they're gonna chase the high dollar.
right.
So to protect the parish, you throw liquidated damages in there. They're not gonna chase even an extra $1 a yard to go do
Wouldn't
something
make
when
it
they're
up.
being charged $1,000 a day, liquidated damages. You don't ever wanna do that, but that's just a safety net for the parish.
So I have a second on the floor from Mr. Tracy Girlinghouse to pass this resolution to approve debris removal and site management contract awarded through the RFP process and to authorize the parish president to sign the contract.
Yes, sir.
I got a couple of questions
Lay it on.
before we vote. Mr. Mark, this is very important to me and the constituents of Livingston Parish. This is for all debris, for whether it be emergency or past hurricanes or flooding or any
disaster related.
any
debris.
disaster related debris pickup. Okay,
Yeah.
whether it be in a stream or
Correct.
whether it be
Now,
a roadway.
Now,
or-
if we have a tornado come through and it's small, you don't activate this. You just don't do it. Mr. Sam usually will take the grapple truck or whatever and go handle all the small stuff. This is something you activate when you get large amounts of money, large amounts of debris. It's just not cost effective to bring somebody in for small jobs.
Okay,
So this
Is
would
there-
only kick in the event of a big major disaster.
is there any discussion from the audience? Is there any more discussion from the council?
Is this the contract that's gonna be, the winner of this contract's gonna do the $50 million worth of money that you use to clean up streams and rivers?
Yes, sir. Same one that's doing it now.
And that's a 10% match?
It is, everything, well, it's based on your public assistance. NRCS is where through USDA is where we have the money to do the streams. They base their cost share just like FEMA did on the disaster. So if you get some storms, FEMA will say it's a 25-75. Because of the magnitude of the flood, it was based on a 90-10. So NRCS honors FEMA's 90-10.
Good.
It's a good thing.
Okay, well, if there's no more discussion, oh, we have one, wait, come on up, Mr. Mayor. For the record, you gotta state your name.
I think you all know me already, I have to say it again.
You gotta state it again.
Okay. Muriel Laws, 26253 Popular Glen Drive. My question to you, sir, is, and I may have missed it, where exactly are you taking all of this debris?
It depends on the type of debris. Let's just say the flood, for instance. You have to separate out all of your e-waste, all of your white goods, all of that. So all the construction debris and stuff like that will go to a landfill. All of your white goods, anything that's recyclable, has Freon in it, anything like that must go to a certified disposal site.
Is there a reason why that type of service could not be provided for the recycling? Or is that because it's not?
Emergency
This is
funds.
a-
Emergency funds?
Yeah.
That's right, we don't have the
Grant.
funds to, grant money.
It's a grant, it's a grant money.
You can get us some grant money.
We're gonna-
We'll do anything you want.
We're gonna work on recycling. We're gonna come up with some way
You
to
understand?
recycle
Yeah, we
in
know
Livingston
exactly,
Parish.
it's all tied together, we get it, yes, we do, appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Call for the vote.
All right, I call for the vote.
We gotta wait till Mercedes.
Is that the right thing to call for the vote?
She's trying.
There's no more discussion?
Mr. Lobel.
Yes.
Mr. Avery.
Yes.
Mr. Harris.
Yes.
Mr. Garlinghouse.
Yes.
Mr. Ard is absent. Mr. King.
Yes.
Mr. Wascom.
Yes.
Mr. Talbot.
I said bless.
Yes.
Mr. Mack.
Yes.
Thank y'all so much.
Hey, thanks for coming. Thanks for all your explanation.
Mr.
And
Chairman.
you know, this is a new year,
It is.
and this is the first time you come see us, right?
And hey,
You didn't
Wait,
tell me you loved it.
hold
Wait.
hold on. I just wanna say that I missed the last meeting because my youngest granddaughter had a birthday.
Nice.
that's excusable. That's excusable.
That's the only time I've missed.
We had some good girls.
Can I make one more comment before I leave?
One.
One. Saturday is a nationwide, field day for ham operators.
Stole my thunder there.
But
I was
No,
about
no,
to say,
no, no, hey, Mark, I don't want you to
John
leave.
Wascom had something to
I don't
say.
want you to leave. This
You can put that under.
Livingston Parish Amateur Radio Club. No, Mark, don't. You're part of this. The Livingston Parish Amateur Radio Club. And for those of you who don't know, we have a ham radio club in Livingston Parish, and through GOSEP and Office of Homeland Security, Mark Harrell's office, they have installed an antenna on the top of a 715-foot tower that we have here in Livingston Parish. It's one of the finest communication towers that we have. I think other departments use it as well. But I want to take just a second to tell you that this Saturday, they're having a field day for anybody. They're trying to get people to get excited and get interested in ham radio. You come out, and they have radios hooked up this Saturday, and you can talk to people around the world. But, and it's good to bring your children or get to people excited about amateur radios. And I just want to tell you real quick, Scooter, give me just 1 second.
Come on, Dave.
Thank you. During the flood, water was coming up in our house, and we shot off to another house that we thought would be higher and drier. But come to find out, when the water got toward where we were at the second location, it was worse. We had a 95-year-old woman with us, and the water was coming up. There was no way to get out. The most important thing a person could have at that point, the news media told me, get your D-size batteries and an extra bottle of water and those type things, ice, stock up on canned foods. But the most important thing that I didn't have when the flood hit, and Livingston Parish has never experienced a hazard like that, but I'm telling you, let's be prepared for those type things. When the cell phone did not work and I needed somebody to come help us get this 95-year-old lady out of the house because we were pushing in a bateau up water up to here, communication is of the most important thing you can have. And so I want to say this, for $35, you can buy a ham radio like this right here. And with a ham license, you can talk, or FCC license, you can talk and get the art of radio. But even if you don't do that, I'm going to work on passing a resolution with this council that if the parish president ever declares an emergency like we had, if you have one of these radios, you can talk through the same tower that's set up through the amateur radio, and it goes straight to the Office of Homeland Security. And in an emergency, you have the first responders sitting in this room upstairs right here. You have the ambulance, the helicopters, the sheriff's office, and they come rescued us in these SUVs with snorkels. All you'd see was the top of the roof with their head sticking out, and they'd come guide us. And if it hadn't been for those type of communications, this lady wouldn't have made it out. So I'm saying that to say this. For $35, you can have a ham radio and get your license if you want to, but if an emergency ever happens, you'll have the ability to communicate to every first responder in this parish immediately. So just ponder that if you would, and if you want to get more information, see Mr. Mark Harrell about it, and he'll see about getting you some a ham radio or to be prepared if or when that next emergency is. Mark, I want to thank you for working with the Amateur Radio Club too.
Nice. Appreciate you.
Where will that meeting be?
Mark, tell them where it's going to be at.
Oh, in the parking lot across here, you'll see a 40-foot main trailer. That's where it's gonna be set up. And there'll probably be about 40 or 50 of the club members there. So you walk up, introduce yourself, tell them you're interested, you'd like to see how it works. They was trying it out today and talked to Africa and everywhere, India, everywhere else on it. So it works pretty good.
Is there a time?
It starts at noon Saturday and works throughout at noon Sunday. They're gonna camp out in the parking lot.
It'll be a nice weather too.
All right.
Now,
That's right.
one more thing on the old radio. You asked to have every councilman issued a radio during a disaster. They have purchased the radios, their programs, so when something comes up, we'll hand them out so each one of you can talk.
Man, that'd be nice.
I hope we don't ever need them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully they rot. Sit down on the shelf.
Thank you, Mr. Mark.
Thank you, Mark.
Okay. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, next line item.
Yeah.
Public,
Yeah. You gotta have a license.
all right, so next line item, public hearing and adoption of LP ordinance number 19-01. It's a servitude revocation. We're now opening a public hearing. Sandy, can you read the ordinance?
Yes, this is proposed ordinance 19-01. This is an ordinance as follows to wit. Revoking the dedication, abandoning, and quitclaiming in favor of Jason Simcoe and William Savar Jr. a 15-foot servitude identified by the crosshatched portion as shown on the maps showing survey of the revocation of a 15-foot servitude across lots 41A and 42A located in section 16, township 7 south, R3 East, Greensburg Land District, Livingston Parish, Louisiana, by Brett J. Martin, professional land surveyor, dated September 20th, 2017.
All right. Is there any discussion from the audience? Is there any discussion from the council? All in favor? Oh, we gotta do it by the vote? Oh, I gotta close the public hearing. Okay, I'm still new at this.
Yep.
Okay, we now are going to close the public hearing.
Need a motion
Do we have a motion
Yes.
to adopt.
to adopt this ordinance?
I have a motion.
I have a motion by Mr. Tracy Girlinghouse. I have a second by Mr. Tableau Bell. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Not one. All right. Passes. All right. Item number 14, public hearing and adoption of LP ordinance number 19-02. We are now opening a public hearing of an adoption of LP ordinance number 19-02. Sandy, can you read the ordinance?
Absolutely.
Pretty please.
Put it up on the map. This is an ordinance to amend section 2-2, Livingston Parish Council regular and special meetings of the Code of Ordinances of Livingston Parish by amending the time and hour of regular meetings of the Livingston Parish Council from 6 o'clock p.m. to 6:30 p.m.
All right. Do we have any discussion from the audience? Do we have any discussion from the council?
Yeah, we heard this at the ordinance committee meeting last Thursday on the 17th. There was a motion to leave it at 6. It failed. There was a motion to leave it as introduced at 6:30, and it failed. So we quit discussing it. So the ordinance as it was introduced at the council on the 10th was written as 7 and it was introduced as 6:30 based on Mr. Girlinghouse's motion. So there's no recommendation coming from the ordinance committee. So it's the pleasure of the council. It's introduced at 6:30. Does someone make a motion to continue that, or?
Yeah,
Can't do
hold on.
action in a hearing. You gotta
In here, we
close
gotta
first.
close the hearing first,
Oh,
so,
okay.
Is there any more discussion from the council? All right, we will
The
now,
only reason I said
okay, go ahead,
six,
Mr. Bubba.
only reason I said 6 in the ordinance committee meeting
Yes, sir.
was I was trying to look out for the ladies in the office and that, I know it's hard for you to get here at 6 o'clock. I know it's hard for Jeff to get here at
I
6
didn't make
o'clock.
it today.
So I'm willing to go with 6:30, so.
Thank you, Mr. Bubba. All right, is there any more discussion?
You want
Annette?
6:30?
Well, then we will now, any more discussion? We will now close the public hearing and adoption, on the adoption of LP ordinance 19-02.
We need a motion.
Make a motion to.
We have a motion by Mr. Tracy Girlinghouse to adopt that ordinance. Do we have a second? We have a second by Mr. Jeff Averett to adopt that ordinance. I call for the vote.
That's far, to change the time to 6.
To change the time, oh yes, let me
Yeah,
review.
6:30.
To change the Livingston Parish Council meeting time from 6 p.m. to 6:30 p.m.
And that will start next month?
That will start the very.
First meeting next month?
Next
Seventh.
meeting.
February 7th.
February the 7th.
We'll publish it in the official journal too, as many times as we can.
That's right. If you show up at 6, you just have to wait a little bit longer. It's not gonna be the end of the world.
You can hear the first ordinance committee meeting that's held at 5:30.
That's what I'm talking about. And that was one of the purposes, let's just go ahead and say that. I mean, we wanted to have more ordinance committee meetings, and we thought it would, help all to come, an hour before the council meeting started and go through the ordinance committee meeting and, to make more positive change for the people who we represent and care about in Livingston Parish. So, can I call for the vote now?
Mr. Lidville,
Yes.
Mr. Averett,
Yes.
Mr. Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Girlinghouse.
Yes.
Mr. King,
Yes.
Mr. Wascom,
Yes.
Mr. Talbert,
Yes.
Mr. Mack.
Yes. All right. Item number 15, public hearing and adoption of LP ordinance, number 19-03. We will now open the public hearing and adoption of LP ordinance number 19-03. Sandy, can you read the ordinance?
Yes, and you said we're opening public hearings, so we do that. This is an ordinance to amend chapter 13, plan and development, section 13-49.3, submittals, section 13-50, procedures for subdivisions with improvements, section 13-57, drainage/drainage impact study, section 13-57.1, drainage impact study/drainage design requirements, section 13-59, driveway culverts and/or subsurface drainage, section 13-66.2, mobile home parks of the Code of Ordinances in and for the parish of Livingston.
All right. Is there any discussion from the audience on this ordinance adoption? All right. Is there any discussion from the council?
Is Chris gone? I wanted to ask him a question about implementation.
Yeah, I know where he's at.
No, I mean, if he's not gonna be long, we can wait. The question is, when does this ordinance go into effect if it's passed tonight? Does it apply to plats, preliminary plats not accepted by this council? I mean, you've gotta come up with some, cutoff point. If just because I've gone to planning and said that I might do something in 6 months, does that make me exempt from the new rules? Or do the rules only come into effect on plats, plot plans have not been accepted by this council, preliminaries? I'm asking Chris. I'm
Been
just
put on
trying
the
to,
spot here,
I mean,
Mr. Chris.
Welcome back.
I wanna know, based on our actions tonight, do we need to put some wording in this ordinance to affect that? Or, you know, how do we need, is it gonna naturally occur?
Which ordinance is this?
This is the stormwater retention. I mean, we know that, you know, planning had, you know, preliminary plats come to them,
Right.
you know, in the month of January, and the
Right.
council has acted on all those things to this point. There have been people that have contacted, you know, the planning department, but not yet submitted or had preliminary plats approved. So I'm trying to figure out I would like to see the break point, if the council hadn't accepted it, that they fall under the new rules. What is our legal position on that?
Well, it's a complicated answer. It kind of depends on the situation. You know, if it's an emergency or if it's a critical health, safety issue, you can impose rules immediately. In general, though, you shouldn't impose rules, on any kind of real estate development deal if they have started the process at all. So they filed the first application for a permit or, you know, done any administrative step toward getting it, then you can't change the rules midstream. Now, it's rarely a problem if it's a pretty minor change that you're making, but if you're making a major change that could have affected somebody's decision to buy the property and do the development, and they might not have spent so much money if they knew that they couldn't meet your requirements. So, you know, to be safe, I would apply this rule only to those projects that haven't been started yet.
But Chad, let me ask Chad, I thought that might be the answer, so I wanna let Chad from Fort LaPlata comment. Chad, do you currently, under the existing ordinance, have the ability to make a development, study 25-year and retain 25-year or not?
No, we don't.
You can make them study, you just can't make them retain.
That's correct.
Even if there's a public, even for the well, you
I mean,
know.
I think there might be something in the ordinance, Gary, that allows you guys to make that recommendation for us to look at that. I mean, I don't know if it requires them to do it, though. That's the kicker.
We've asked for it before.
Right.
So even
Some
with
of the
the
developers
health,
will
safety,
do.
and welfare, I mean, this is done because, you know, there are people that, you know, are being flooded. So the question is, that's not an emergency? I mean, I'm just trying to,
I'm just telling you, you could declare it, this is an emergency, it's gonna apply across the board and set the date that it's effective. You can do that. But just bear in mind, you could be open to some challenge for that.
Gary, you know, we've had that 10-year, stormwater retention for an
Oh,
extremely
oh,
long period of time.
I
you know.
understand, I mean, and
And to be quite honest with you, I think this is a very positive change for the residents of Livingston Parish, you know, to.
Yeah, Gary.
But however, that being said, you know, the flood of 2016, it would have ran the tops over any retentions.
Yeah, that's.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah,
so
this
to
is
declare an emergency, I say let's just move forward and let it go into
Shane,
effect
I'm
when it
gonna
should.
recommend, I'm gonna recommend we look at it a little further. For the simple reason is, we have some ordinances in effect that it's not worth the paper that they're written on. Y'all know what I'm talking about.
well, I mean, I think we had a hearing in planning, I mean, the ordinance committee, it came out unanimous. I think every engineer in the room thought it was a great thing, including our parish engineer, and you don't have a developer in this room speaking against it tonight. You know, I mean, my question was solely with respect to implementation. All I wanted to know is if a plot plan hadn't been approved at the parish level, though it hadn't come through planning and hadn't been approved, could we require the new thing? I think Mr. Chris has made that perfectly clear. So the question is, what is the process? When did they make that determination? When did they start? When they started looking at buying a piece of property, before they made the submittal to planning? I mean, I'm just trying to figure out when the cutoff
It
is.
would have to be when they
You know,
contacted the parish.
what do we make that, when is the implementation at this point in time?
If I could just suggest something, I think,
Go ahead.
we've been doing this for a little while, but I think as soon as they make that application, like Chris is saying, we have an informal meeting with most of the developers before they even get started, and we would mention that new requirement then. But if they actually make an application to the planning department, say, hey, I wanna do this preliminary plat or the site plan if it's commercial, at that point, they're already kinda locked in on it. They're kinda locked in on
They're
the existing
vested in
one.
it by that
So,
time.
so,
Right.
so is the cutoff today? I mean, so basically,
Well-
if they made application prior to today.
You know, Lincoln's gonna sign, y'all's resolution or ordinance, right? Or somebody will, huh? I think at that time.
It goes into effect 15 days, right, Sandy? It's like
I was
15
just about to say,
Oh, well, go ahead.
our home rule charter says that our ordinances, unless it specifies in the ordinance when it's effective 15 days from the date of adoption. You start counting your days the day after adoption. So if we adopt it tonight, you start counting Friday, and it's calendar days.
So, but we could make it effective tomorrow?
If we put tomorrow's date
You
on.
have to amend it and then adopt it as amended.
Okay.
I don't think that 15 days is gonna make them.
Well, look, let me say this, and y'all might get a clearer picture. Gary, when we did the setbacks on the side yards, they were like 5 feet, and we got them at 6 and 7. Immediately after that happened, some of the people had already had preliminary plats
And it didn't
gone
apply
through,
to them.
and it didn't apply to those people. But you're talking about if the preliminary plat has not been approved, but they came to the parish and started the meeting and said, we bought this piece of property, and yada, yada. So if we did, I say if they're in the stream of preliminary plat, there's nothing you can do with that one.
And I
It's
agree.
the one right before that.
And I agree with that. So, I mean, my question is, can we amend this ordinance to make it effective tomorrow? Which parish is closed, so anybody that came in and made application on Monday
They
would
get-
have to
they would get
follow
the new
they would
guidelines.
have to follow the new rules in lieu of the old
But
rules.
the people that came in the past 2 weeks between planning and now and said.
They would be under the old rules. I mean, the only difference, we've already determined that if you hadn't made
Yeah, I'm
application.
okay with that. If it doesn't change, if you've applied, then they would be in the pipeline and they would be able to pass through it however they came. Right? Wouldn't that be
So Chris,
correct?
can we theoretically amend this ordinance right now to make it effective tomorrow?
Yeah, close the hearing first.
Well, you
Oh,
know,
well, I know,
theoretically,
I know
yeah.
what you're saying, I'm just, but I mean, we could amend it,
Effective immediately.
vote on it, and then after the public hearing closed, and
And I
then
just got
vote.
one more question. We think this is necessary, right? To wipe out this 14 days?
I mean,
We've been doing this for,
It's not gonna make a difference, Shane. That's the thing. If it's already in the pipeline, it's already there. So,
I mean,
That's what I'm
anybody that's already,
but it would start somebody Monday, they would have this new set of rules to go by. We
Okay.
could save 2 weeks if somebody said, well, let's get it over quick.
is there any more discussion?
hurt us or not?
It's
well,
probably not.
you know, the
What's
deal
amending
is,
it
the
can
deal
hurt
is
us.
if they build in 1,000 house, if they introduce 1,000 house
I'm
subdivision in an area that has drainage problems, then the new rules won't apply, and so consequently, what is the impact on those people that live around that new subdivision?
Okay, great.
I mean, so.
It'd be pretty great, yeah.
Okay, so let's follow the process.
Okay, so what we need to close, I
Okay,
Close the
so,
public hearing?
so is there any more discussion on the changes
think it's good
to
legislation.
this ordinance, to the changes of this ordinance? No? Good. All right. So we now are going to close the public hearing. And Sandy, I need a little help. What's the next step?
I was told that there were several changes that y'all made as a recommendation.
That's what I was gonna go with. There was
And
one,
then state
there was
what
one
each
change,
amendment is.
there was one change that came out of committee, and it basically went to, if y'all flip to go to 15, and the second page,
With all the red,
well, if you'll go down to under G, design and construction criteria, go to 2.
Go to the blue.
Miss Morgan with Fort and Tablada asked, where I had just put checked, Miss Morgan asked that it say evaluated to ensure there are no negative impact upstream or downstream of the development.
that's smart.
And, yeah, I mean, I didn't know, I knew we needed to check it, I just didn't know what to check
Put
it
the
for,
word in there. That's
so
good.
she put
So
that.
they are helping us with this. That's
That
great.
was the only change that came out of the ordinance committee, am I correct?
To the best of my knowledge, the memory's not good, but yeah.
Watershed matter.
Oh, no, there wasn't, no, there wasn't. If you go to 13, I'm sorry, if you go to 1357,
Page.
the first page you're looking at, 1357, if you go to E3, Miss Morgan recommended that be stricken, and we adopted that unanimously and renumbered. Everything you see in blue was what was changed from what was introduced. And then the original, I think, on one spot, no, there's two spots, there's three spots.
Get the spot right here, look.
Under, watershed map on section 13-57-1, on, section C of 1357-1 and 2, we had originally removed 10 years, but because we're gonna let them design for 10 years, Chad, that was the reason she wanted to put 10 years back in those particular places. So, if you look at the ordinance that y'all have in hand, the thing that Miss Sandy has, everything that's in blue, everything they gave us in blue was amended at the committee from the original introduction. So Sandy, can we do this in one amendment to accept the changes and add the effective date is tomorrow?
You just state what the amendments are, you'll vote to amend it, what you just read, and then you'll adopt it as amended. So it's two votes.
Okay.
Okay, so do we have a motion on the floor to adopt this ordinance with the stated amendments?
Yeah.
And that includes,
change the
that
date
includes
to
the
start
effective
tomorrow.
date till
And,
So that
tomorrow.
would be
yeah,
any
I
amendment.
forgot that part, my
That's
bad.
okay.
Okay, and change the effective date to be Monday morning,
125 of.
1/25/2019.
Well, it's assuming that it was signed by the parish president, so effective on the execution by the parish president.
Okay.
Oh, that's true.
Well, that might need to be Monday then, huh?
Yeah, probably Monday.
That'd probably be Monday.
And so the first vote is to amend the ordinance.
So we're gonna
You
need
vote on the
to,
amendments first, and then move to adopt as amended.
Okay, so
Really,
we,
you
Okay.
probably, as you made so many changes, you probably ought to reopen the public hearing to see if there's any comments about the amendments.
okay.
what?
They're
Okay.
not gonna be. You
Okay.
can open it, but
All right, so that's a good idea. Thank you for the suggestion.
Okay, so
We're
do I
gonna-
need to make the amendment and then reopen it, or how do we do it, Chris?
Well, as long as the people know that they are speaking about the amendments.
Okay.
Okay. So we're going to now open a public hearing to discuss the amendments that was previously discussed on LP Ordinance 1903. Is there any discussion from the audience? Is there any more discussion from this council? Good. We're gonna now close the public hearing. Can you state how we should do that? Can we make a motion to adopt this with the spoken amendments, or we need to?
You first need to ask to move to amend the proposed ordinance in the following way.
All right, do we have a motion to amend the current, that ordinance per the stated amendments?
yes, I moved that.
All right, we have a motion on the floor by Mr. Scooter King
Second by Tracy.
to to adopt this ordinance per
As
the,
amended.
No, to amend the ordinance.
to amend the ordinance, to amend the ordinance per the previous stated amendments.
Yes,
And we have a second by Mr. Tracy Gerlinghouse.
okay.
Just so there's no confusion, can I just go over the amendments one more time?
Well, yes.
Okay, good. It's just so they're in order.
Yes.
They're in blue. If anybody wants a copy, I can give it to them. Section 13-57 drainage impact study. We're gonna change section A. It's gonna be E3. They're taking out these slashes for the proposed development results for the 10% increase. And it's gonna put E3, the site is located within existing developed areas which are served by a network of public storm drainage facilities. Is that right? And then where it says watershed map, it's putting back 10-year, and you're leaving 25-year
We're leaving 25 and 100.
and 100-year runoff rate and water service must be shown at all entrance and exit points of the development. And then, the third thing that's gonna be amended is, under design and construction criteria, under number 2, the impact of the 100-year design storm should be taking out the word checked, and we're putting evaluated to ensure that there are no negative impacts upstream or downstream of the development. And we're gonna put that this is gonna be effective upon the signature of the parish president. So you're voting to amend
We're
with
voting
these
to
stated
amend
amendments.
Right.
ordinance number 19
With a motion by Mr.
03.
Morris.
By
Are
a
we
motion by
doing the
Mr.
date?
Scooter King,
Second by
with a
Tracy
second by
Gurley.
Tracy Gurlinghouse.
Yep.
What was you gonna say?
No, and we're
Okay.
amending the date on that as we do it.
That's
All at
right,
one time.
all the amendments.
Okay? Got it.
Yeah, it was 3 different places for the watershed map.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna call for the vote.
Mr. Lovell,
Yes.
Mr. Averett,
Yes.
Mr. Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Gurlinghouse.
Yes.
Mr. King.
Yes.
Mr. Waskom.
Yes.
Mr. Talbot.
Yes.
Mr. Mack.
Yes. Okay, now, do we have a motion to adopt as amended LP ordinance number 19-03?
I'll make that motion.
We got a motion by Mr. Jeff Averett,
Jumped the gun.
and we got a second by Mr. Bubba Harris. I'm gonna go ahead and call for the vote on that one too.
Mr. Lovell.
Yes.
Mr. Averett.
Yes.
Mr. Harris.
Yes.
Mr. Gurlinghouse.
Yes.
Mr. King.
Yes.
Mr. Waskom.
Yes.
Mr. Talbot.
Yes.
Mr. Mack.
Yes.
And
All right.
adopted as amended.
Item number 16, introduction of ordinance, amend section 13-49.3, requirements for a minor subdivision. We will now open a public hearing. Wait, no, this is a introduction.
Introduction.
Okay, this is just an introduction, don't need to open a public hearing. Sandy, I would like for you to read the ordinance, please.
This is gonna be proposed ordinance 19-04. It's an ordinance to amend chapter 13, planning and development, section 13-49.6, requirements for minor subdivisions by adding provisions to part B of the Code of Ordinances in and for the parish of Livingston. The public hearing is gonna be February the 7th at 6:30 p.m.
All right, is there any discussion from the audience on the changes being introduced? All right, is there any discussion from the council on the
Yeah.
changes
What
being introduced?
What this is we took this up in the ordinance committee meeting. It's a real good piece of legislation. Our ordinance prior allowed someone who had over 16,000 square foot of their property, they couldn't build any less lot size, less than 16 unless you had a single sewer treatment plant, like a MODAD. And those were fine, but they don't really clean up the ditches like we want. So then our ordinance provided for, if you put a filter bed after the MODAD, you could bring your lot size down from 16,000 to 12,000 square feet. And that does make it a little better, but it's still, that's not the best way to treat sewer and to clean up our ditches and get raw septic out of our ditches. The best way is a community sewer where your sewer doesn't go to your ditch. It goes to a lift station, takes it off to a treatment facility that does a great job of treating it, and there's different ones. So to create a better incentive to cause people to go to a quality sewer system when developing a subdivision, this ordinance would allow people to go as small as 10,000 square feet if they have a sewer system that is tied into a community sewer system. So with that, we feel like the ordinance committee approved it. We feel like developers could get a little extra money by selling lots, but they're gonna spend extra money by tying into an approved community development district sewer center, community sewer treatment facility. And so, you know, these are all steps that we take as legislators to try to clean up sewer in the parish. You could ride down certain areas of the parish and you could smell sewer just by going down the roadside. So, and Denham Springs when we're on the council, we expanded our district and we've been in the lead, I think. And of course, I'm not saying anyone's second, but we're working hard to try to clean up the ditches. And Mr. Talbot went to a mosquito abatement seminar. And one of the major components to treat the mosquitoes, he was told, and I agree with him, is to, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Talbot, when the water has septic in it, larva breeds extremely better. If it's fresh water, even though it might be standing, if a fish can live in that water, larva doesn't breed. And so I thought, the problem is is just as much getting the water away, but it's probably just as much as cleaning the water up in the ditches. So this is a major piece of legislation. I'm proud
I like
that
it.
our ordinance committee supported it.
Thank you.
And I'd like to ask this committee, this council to support that as well.
All right, is there any more discussion from the council on this particular ordinance introduction?
I make a motion, we adopt the, introduce.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor by Mr. John Wascom to,
Well, to call for the,
To introduce
to
the
introduce the
ordinance.
ordinance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got a second?
Yeah, is there a
I'll
second? Tracy
Tracy
Gurnley, I'll
will second.
second that motion.
Is there any objection?
Is there any objections? All in favor? Aye. Okay, motion passes, all right. That's been introduced. All right, item number 17, introduction of ordinance. Modify and expand the existing boundaries of Jubin Trails Community Development District. This is in Mr. Tracy Gerlinghouse's district.
It is
Go
indeed.
ahead.
Mr. Fontenot, could you step up to the mic, please?
If you
Last time Sam said I talked too long.
Aw.
Well, you're in good company tonight.
This is an addition to Jubin Trails, which is between Lady of the Lake and West Cove Yale Creek. The development is a CDD to help develop the district, but also the people I represent bought the old state police property, which is directly adjacent to it, which is another 147 acres, which puts the development over 750 acres. If you gentlemen remember, the developers have agreed to build a elementary school in there and turn around and lease it back to Walker School District, because Walker School District has reached their bonding capacity with the new high school. And then also, we've been working with Mark Harrell, Fort Tablada, and our engineering group, Evans and Graves, about, they've agreed to donate quite a bit of property. It all has to be done on engineering, on our dry reservoir. That dry reservoir will be right below, south of the interstate, and it will go, with the addition of this new property, it will go all the way to Buddy Ellis, which will help Jeff's district, Tab's district, and anything south of Buddy Ellis. It will be there to be like a huge retention pond. Now, the issue is we're still waiting on the 404 permits. So that's where we're at. All this is asking to include Indigo Trails, which y'all have approved, which is a separate, the old state police property, in the legal boundaries of the CDD, so they can sell bonds together. That's all it's doing. It's basically a legal procedure.
All right, thanks for the information.
Two already approved developments. He just wants to combine it into one. And he is correct. They're gonna build, they're gonna build the school, all the things, the reservoir he's talking about. I think that's attached directly to West Coyle Creek. So-
It is, but actually, the new state police property actually adds more capacity.
Yes,
There.
so in essence, he's taking a neighborhood that's already been approved and he's gonna put it on a stricter guideline as per the CDD. So,
And also Gary's on the board, and also Tracy's
Yeah,
on the
so,
board.
I mean,
So y'all, the council's represented on the board.
yes, yes.
All right.
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion.
Okay, thanks a lot. Hey, Sandy, do you need to read this
Thanks, Bud.
introduction? All right, Sandy, you need to read this introduction, and then I'm gonna ask if there's any discussion from the audience, and then we're gonna go with Tracy's motion. Does that sound right? All right,
Sounds
rock
good.
on.
Okay, this will be proposed ordinance 19-05. This is an ordinance supplementing and amending LP ordinance number 16-09 adopted on April 28, 2016 to expand the existing boundaries of Jubin Trails Community Development District pursuant to and in compliance with Louisiana Revised Statute 33-9039.14 and further providing for other related matters. The public hearing will have to be February the 28th, 2019, because we have some publication deadlines we have to meet, and it'll be at 6:30 p.m.
All right. So is there any discussion from the audience on this particular introduction. All right. So we have a motion on the floor by Tracy Girdinghouse to introduce this ordinance. We have a second by Mr. Gary Talbert. And, I call for the vote.
Good job.
Oh,
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. All right, so we'll back up and we'll let, anybody in the audience discuss. Come on up, ma'am, and state your name and your address, please.
Patrice Joyner with Willie Crossing Subdivision,
Mhm.
HOA. You mentioned Buddy Ellis.
Yes.
Where on Buddy Ellis?
Do you know where the state police property, it has, was the old? Right across from the treatment plants. Yeah, you know where the big green treatment plant is?
Mhm.
Right there, that,
An old rifle range,
I'm sorry.
that old rifle range there?
Yeah, that's what
Yes.
Yes.
police.
And you talking about a school there, you said a school gonna be possibly be put there, you
An
said, an
elementary school.
elementary?
Yes, ma'am.
Aren't those, where I saw on Buddy Ellis, it had two subdivisions that was gonna be built there?
That's correct.
I think we approved over 1,000 lots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's gonna
Okay,
be-
so let's
Great.
talk
Well,
loud
my
into
thing
the,
is,
let's
what
talk loud
question
into the
is,
microphone.
oh,
Go
no
ahead.
problem with that, I'm gonna follow talking. My thing is that, how are you gonna have all these developments, and we're already having a problem right now with flooding, and gas, and sewer, yeah, that's true. Widening of the roads, how is that gonna be facilitated? I'm just curious about that one. Well, we are curious about that one.
Well, actually, it's developed.
She needs to talk.
What?
no,
Okay.
we're not
You need to
hearing,
address the council.
we're not hearing what you're
These
saying. When you're
questions.
talking
Oh,
to close,
oh.
you're not hearing what you're saying.
No, okay, I was asking him, he said, I asked him where it was gonna be placed at, because I know on Buddy Ellis, there's like 3 subdivisions that's proposed, well, 3 proposed. And I live in Livingston Crossing, and we already have an issue already with sewage, water, well, sewage and, gas, traffic. So I was asking him, how is that gonna help us out? I mean, cause it's gonna actually hinder,
Well,
not help.
No,
Actually, what's happened already related to sewer on that end is the fact that, you know, the sewer district, the Livingston Parish Sewer District, which covers that particular area, has rehabilitated the old sewer treatment plant on the state police property and are currently tying subdivisions into it now. And have bought a mobile unit and put next to it and are starting, and they're actually putting water in it. It's not even come online yet because it hadn't had enough loadings to put it online to have a discharge. Across the street from there, the sewer district's acquired 16,000, no, I'm not gonna tell you how many acres, cause I don't know. They've acquired some acreage across the street from DSLD to build a new sewer treatment system, you know, right there. And so all that stuff will be tied into it. Matter of fact, the development that y'all were here last week to talk about with respect to their sewer their engineer has reached out to the sewer district, and they're currently working on how to get the sewer from that development that's going back to planning, because that was one of the concerns you had, to that sewer system, which it appears as though in that deal that you'll end up with lift stations and sewer lines down Buddy Ellis all the way, so that in the future, if there was some ability to get y'all away from MoDOT, there would be access to parish sewer. So there's some
That's what we've been
positives.
striving for
Also-
3
Work
years,
on
to
that.
do that as much as
Yes.
we can.
So-
Also, too, they are actually giving up land to build it's like a reservoir, so that will actually
Retain the water.
retain water off of y'all.
So
So this is a development you don't, I mean, typically, yeah, I mean, there's gonna be more traffic, but this isn't one you really, wanna fight that much.
And all these
It's
things are
you're
in
gonna
the
get more from it.
They're all in the preliminary, so the drainage, I mean,
So widen that road first and then widen that all the way down.
well, I mean,
It's
that'll
going
be
to
part,
20 feet, that's what they talked
that'll
about
be
2
part
weeks
of the,
ago.
that'll be part of the traffic impact
Be
study.
similar to the Dunn Road, it's
that
still, it's an
everything-
MPO, just like the Dunn Road.
That'll be part of the traffic impact study that's done on all these developments. So, but in essence, this acquisition of the state police property, the design of Indigo Trails, and then the taking Indigo Trails into the CDD will allow the CDD to give up additional property. Isn't that what I understood, Chloe, that the CDD is gonna give up additional property
Water retention.
for water retention where they had originally planned on building houses? They're just gonna move those houses down to Indigo Trail and actually allow for more water retention in the middle of the development.
Also, we've been, we've been working with Lady of the Lake Hospital to give another exit out on 447 to take some of the traffic off Buddy Ellis. It would be basically a cut-through throughway. So if someone was leaving Buddy Ellis, they could cut straight through and go to 447. So it would take some of the pressure off on traffic light.
Is there ever a plan to actually widen 447 possibly?
I mean, that's a state situation. Now, we don't, I wish we could have some
Because
input
there's a
on
lot
that.
of traffic on there now.
Okay, so,
Huh?
She asked about something on 447. Is there still a plan for a roundabout at the end of Buddy Ellis at 447?
Yes, there is, that's in the works.
I know they're putting it on both ends at Juban also.
That's a DOTD project.
Yeah,
We're working on.
getting a roundabout on both ends of Buddy Ellis.
Okay.
and the overpass, right?
Well, the overpass is a priority, but I don't know where that was at. That was not in the pipeline, I don't think, to get
I don't
funded.
think that's only the,
Yeah, that's not to be funded, but I know the other ones already have funding available.
Yeah. They're coming.
My last question is,
Thank
you
you,
mentioned
Terry.
on Buddy Ellis,
Okay, one more question, go ahead.
Yeah, I
ma'am.
got you. You mentioned on Buddy Ellis, you know how, not too far from the, was it Evangeline Trace housing development? We had to put online everyone it rains or whatever, if it's flooding under that little bridge, on that little, you going down Buddy Ellis going towards Juban. We post online, asking each other, online, giving us tips whether or not, should we go that way, because it floods there when it even rains.
I think Lee Foster even addressed that back a few months ago,
He
that
did.
they're improving all that downstream, but they can't
Yeah.
push it on somebody else.
Which
So they
is
can't just open
true,
it.
right,
You
I'm
know?
just asking this
Yeah,
question.
yeah, all of that, we're
Yeah,
working on
okay,
all of this
because-
stuff, it's growing so fast in that
It
area.
really is.
And without zoning, like we said last week, 2
Yeah.
weeks ago,
Zoning.
there's no way to slow that down. Well, this package that we adopted tonight possibly might slow that down somewhat.
Okay,
Um,
all right, thank y'all.
Thank you very
No,
much,
it-
thank you very
right.
much.
No, it
Okay,
doesn't.
is there any more discussion? Okay, did we have a motion? Can't remember.
Yes,
Yeah, we got moved by Tracy and a second by me. We just reopened so she could make a comment.
Okay, all right, I call for the vote.
Mr. Lovell?
Yes.
Mr. Averett?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Garlinghouse?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Mr. Wascom?
Yes.
Mr. Talbert?
Yes.
Mr. Mack?
Yeah. All right, moving on to item number 18, board appointments.
Thank you, Chloe.
And accept board resignations. 18A, Livingston Parish Airport District, Mr. Jeff Avery.
Yes, I want to nominate Mr. Denver Castles for that.
So we have a motion on the floor to nominate, can you repeat that loud?
Denver Castles.
Denver Castle to the Livingston Parish Airport District.
I'll second that.
We have a second by Mr. John Wascom.
Miss Sandy, I
Is there
believe
any discussion from the audience?
you have this information.
Any discussion from the council?
He is a fine fellow.
There you go.
All right. So, all in favor? Any opposed? No. All right. Item 18B, Livingston Parish Library Board, Mr. Tab Lobel.
Just had a resignation of Miss Shelley Davis, and I'm gonna replace her with Mr. Larry O'Neill. He's excited about getting involved, so
What I'm talking
we
about.
appreciate it.
All right, so we have a motion on the floor to appoint Mr. Larry O'Neill to the Livingston Parish Library Board.
Accept the resignation
Need to
and appoint.
accept the resignation
Oh, I
first.
forgot about that.
Motion to accept the resignation of staff.
Okay, we can do that in the same motion to accept that resignation letter.
We can't. We gotta do one at a time.
Oh, you gotta do one at a time?
We gotta accept,
It's
then we
just
can appoint.
cleaner that way.
Okay, okay, we'll do that. Okay, so first of all, do we have a motion on the floor to accept this resignation letter?
Tab a little bit, yes.
I'll second.
We have Mr. Tableau Bell with a motion to accept the resignation letter. We have a second by Mr. Jeff Averett. All in favor?
Thank you.
Any opposed? No? Good. All right, now we have a motion by Mr. Tableau Bell
Mr. Larry O'Neill.
to appoint Mr. Larry O'Neill to the Livingston Parish Library Board. We have a second by Mr. Jeff Averett. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No? Good. All
No,
right.
five fell.
All right, Fire Protection District number 2, Mr. Tab Lobel.
Yes, we have, Mr. Dwight Hutchinson, I wanna reappoint him. Been very involved out there, good guy,
All right, is that a motion?
that is.
All right, do we have a second?
Second.
All right.
I think this is one, this is a little tiny bit different. This is, can I speak? I'm sorry.
You can.
Okay, this is just a little tiny bit different. Each fire district, this one is a fire district appointment. So they actually made this appointment, it's not a parish appointment, and we're just trying to ratify their appointment.
Okay,
To say, yeah, they're good, so that's what we're doing.
so we basically have a motion to ratify their appointments.
Yes.
We have a second.
Who made the second?
Jeff Averett.
Jeff. Thank you, Jeff.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No? Good.
Thank you.
All right. Fire District number 5, Mr. John Watson.
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion to accept the resignation of Mr. David Drake. I've spoken to him, and he's getting off the board.
I'll second it.
All right, we have a motion to accept the resignation of Mr. Drake. We have a second. That motion was made by Mr. John Watson. We have a second by Mr. Gary Talbert to accept that resignation. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No.
And then I'd like
All right.
to, make a motion to fill that position for Fire District 5 with Mr. Chris Kinchin. Great guy, and
Yeah, he's a great guy.
he's really, involved in the community, likes, and wants to get more involved and do some help, so.
That's wonderful. All right, so we have a motion on the floor by Mr. John Wascom to appoint Mr. Chris Kinchin to Fire District number 5. We have a second by Mr. Bubba Harris. And I'd like to call for the, well, no, I'd like, all in favor?
Aye.
No opposed?
That's all you needed.
Good. All right, one more appointment. Livingston Parish Sewer District, John Washington.
Yeah, I've asked that this one, be pulled off. It just, if y'all would, just postpone it for, I'm still trying to work out some details on the appointment.
Sounds fantastic. We're gonna table 18E. Okay, item number 19, reconsideration of Live Oak Acres to request for a waiver of LP ordinance number 17-22, mobile homes in subdivisions, prohibitions and restrictions of use to place a mobile home on a lot addressed at 25081 Denver Street, Denver Springs, Louisiana, 70726, located in Live Oak Acres. All right. Is there any discussion from the audience on this particular line item? Is there any discussion from the council on this particular line item? Wow.
Yes,
Since- oh. Go ahead, Mr. Bubba.
I have something to say. Mr. Talbot put this back on the agenda. And the thing is, and the reason and purpose for this ordinance was not to try to eliminate these particular people. It was for the good of the parish. We've got to do something to stop things like this from happening. Nothing against y'all. But, I understand that there's circumstances that's unavoidable, especially if you have family that's ill. I may wanna move a trailer on my property for one of my daughters to come in and take care of me. Well, if I could talk them into it, and I understand things like that. And I want y'all to know that this wasn't anything, a personal thing against y'all. I was just trying to do what was right for Livingston Parish. And that's about all I have to say for that.
I got something. I know we voted it down last time.
Right.
But you have mobile homes in this subdivision already. How can we stop not letting them do it too?
Well,
That's just my opinion.
there's got to be a stopping point
I
somewhere.
understand that.
Regardless.
I understand that.
That's a good question.
But what I'm saying is, I really don't know what I'm gonna say on that right now.
I'd like to say, wait,
At least you honest.
I really would truly would like to say something to help answer that question and clarify this, if I can. Hopefully I won't screw this up. Okay. We wrote an ordinance to protect the property values in the higher end subdivisions by not allowing the placement of mobile homes inside named subdivisions that was intended for the purpose of the stick-built homes. And I think it's been a very successful ordinance. I'm very proud of it. And I think it does protect property values inside those subdivisions where people pay because they don't want that type of thing in their subdivision. I'd also like to say that there's certainly places in Livingston Parish for mobile homes. I started off in one, and I don't know how I would have got started in life without that $200 mobile home.
Well, I think
You know,
we all
$200
have
per
room.
month mobile home. You know, so this particular case, when it was originally presented to me, the way I understood it, and the ordinance did apply. And the reason was because I felt like at the time I voted that this particular subdivision was intended for stick-built homes. However, that being said, we have been, it's been communicated to us that that intent is no longer valid to the best of my knowledge, from what I've been presented, because those restrictions, that is, it's no longer the case. So it changes things,
Well,
and that's why it got put back on the ballot.
what happened was, and a lot of people don't know this, when the first mobile home was brought in there, it was from Mr. Poirier, and they fought it. He went all the way to Supreme Court with it and won. But the Supreme Court gave him
3 years.
it was 3 years. It was temporary. They gave him 3 years. He had to have a house built or either move the mobile home out. And it was amended, the restrictions were amended at that time. And from what I gather now, that they're still there, you know,
Same one still.
So that changes things.
yeah.
All right, is there any more discussion on this particular topic?
I got a little bit of something. You got something? Go ahead.
Well,
Y'all can both have a time.
I put it back on the agenda because I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm gonna change my vote. I mean, I'm not happy with the way I voted the first time. This will be the second time that I've voted and then afterward regretted it. And I got the opportunity to change it last time.
I didn't forget the first time either.
I'm gonna take I put it back on so if nothing else, I personally had the opportunity to change my vote. When this ordinance was originally written, John brought it to us because there was a home that after the flood was torn down in a subdivision that had nothing but stick-built homes in. Every home in that subdivision was a stick-built home. And after the flood, a home was torn down, and then a permit was issued for a trailer, and they moved it on a lot in a subdivision that every home was stick-built. And that was the intent of this subdivision. It's probably an ordinance with great intention that's probably not written very well, because there's no legal definition for neighborhood. You know, we use subdivision, and so everything in this parish basically becomes a subdivision. And so, you know, it's been presented to us over and over again, you know, for waivers. And we've constantly looked at Google Earth and we've evaluated, you know, the surrounding area, and we've all made decisions. And if a trailer was already in there, you know, we granted the waivers. The only time that I can think that it wasn't is a subdivision that was a U. And one street in that subdivision was nothing but stick-built homes, and the other street in that subdivision was a mixture of trailers and homes, and the councilman decided that the street with nothing but stick-built homes would be denied the waiver. I think if you look at this particular situation, there are 6 mobile homes in that subdivision and one directly across the street.
Right out the front.
And so because of that, I feel like I wanna change my vote, and that's why I put it back on. I tried numerous ways to try to get this done administratively, and Mr. Booties knows I've talked to him about, you know, what his legal opinion was in our position on this thing. I'm not gonna lie about it. The agent that is selling, or the agent that represents the person buying the property resides in my district. The lady that is trying to sell the property has a option on a home or a contract, a pending contract in my district. There is another resident in my district that wants to sell their home to buy another home in my district. And one of the other real estate agents resides in my district. So consequently, this isn't a one situation, one little deal. This thing has about 4 or 5 real estate transactions based on this waiver. And I just felt that given some of the people that were gonna be involved and the money that these real estate agents were gonna make, that we were probably looking at a situation of probably having, you know, a lawsuit filed against us. And to be honest with you, I didn't feel real comfortable. And if you read Mr. Moody's letter, he's not overwhelmingly positive which way this would go. So I felt the desire to change my vote. That's why I put it back on there. I would like to make a motion that we grant the waiver and everybody vote their conscience.
I would like to say one other thing before that. Okay? Yes, sir, Mr. Bubba.
Go ahead.
Well, and that goes right back to, the deal in, Live Oak Acres. Now, Mr. Talbot, and I hold nothing against him, he is representing people in his district. I was asked by the people in Live Oak Acres to represent them. And I want y'all to understand, that's what I'm trying to do, is represent them. Because they're not going anywhere, they're gonna be there. And that's my constituents, so. But anyway, when this, new man moves in, I know some people said, if he needs anything, all they gotta do is contact them and they'll be glad to go help him, you know. That's the type of people that's in there. You got a few that's, never mind, I'm not even going there with that.
That's everywhere, but we got a few.
Okay,
Yeah.
so is there any more discussion on this particular topic? All right, we have a motion by Mr. Gary Talbert to, where are we at here? To accept the waiver, request for waiver, to accept the waiver, of LP ordinance 17-22 for this particular mobile home addressed at 25081 Denver Street, Denham Springs, Louisiana, 70726, located in Live Oak Acres subdivision. All right, and we also have a second by Mr. Scooter King.
Hey, you didn't have to say it
And
like that.
I was trying to go slow and give her time to write. And so, I call for the vote. I think we need to call for the vote on this.
Mr. Lobel,
Yes.
Mr. Averett,
Yes.
Mr. Harris,
This is to adopt it,
This is
to
to,
approve the.
this is to grant the waiver, to allow the trailer to be placed inside the
I
subdivision.
can't vote for it.
Okay?
Mr. Garlinghouse,
Yes.
Mr. King,
Yes.
Mr. Wascom,
No.
Mr. Talbert,
Yes.
Mr. Mack.
Yes.
Passes.
All right, motion passes. Let's move on to the next line item. All right.
We got some more?
Yeah, line item number 20. We're gonna try to whip through this and be out of here by 8:30. Name an unnamed road, Church Branch Road, located off of LA Highway 444 in Council District 8. Mr. Tab Lobel.
The guy needs name a road so he can get some addresses and 911 addresses and all that good stuff. Been run through all the proper channels, and I'd like to make a motion that we name that road Church Branch Road.
All right. All right.
I better Critter Cove.
We have
Question,
a question.
Question.
do we need to state that this is in the town of Killian? And does that detail matter?
It is in the municipality, the town of Killian.
I don't think it,
But
aren't they pushing all the work onto the parish right now?
See, I
Something like
Yeah,
that.
so I think it's fine either way.
I'm not
But
sure
Mr.
that's-
Chris, what do you think?
Well, they would have the right, they have the
We
right.
kind of got a lot of loud noise in the back of the council room. We're trying to address this item here. So if y'all could just please talk as quietly as possible back there, life will be good for all. So, Mr. Tab Lobel has made a motion that we name this unnamed road that's inside the town of Killian, within Livingston Parish, Church Branch Road, and we have a second. It's located off of Highway 444, and we have a second by Mr. Tracy Girlinghouse. And I would like to say, is there any discussion on this? No. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
We have one absent.
We have one member
We have a quorum
It
now.
don't matter.
of the council who needs to come in here.
No, you're done,
Vote.
we're done, no, we're done.
I
It
just
passed.
want
Okay.
to state Councilman.
Yeah, she just gotta have it on the record.
Councilman Talbert had a situation to take care of.
There you go, that's right. I think we've all had it so far.
Okay. Line item number 21. Adopt a resolution to create a three-way stop by adding signage at Creek Haven and Creek Bend and at Creek Valley and at Creek Bend. Maurice Scooter King.
Oh, yeah, that's in, thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's in Creekside Estates. I was contacted by the HOA, and they have several three-way stops in there now, but these two were left out, so they're asking for this to be done, and I told them I'd take care of it.
I'll make a
All right.
motion that we do that.
So we have a motion by Mr. Tracy Girlinghouse.
I'll second it, since
Do we have a second?
Yes.
We got a second by Mr. Scooter King
DPW.
to adopt this resolution.
Yeah.
So, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Nope. Awesome. That's awesome. Okay, line item number 22. Addition of roads for consideration to the capital outlay priority road list. Okay. Do we need to go through each one of them line by line, or can we just add them all at once, or how's that gonna work out? Okay, I would like to see if we can get a motion to add these particular roads to the capital outlay priority road list. We have a motion by Mr. Jeff Averitt to add Parkway Drive in South Haven, Dutch Lane, remainder of Swamp Drive, Cedar Street, Berge Street, and Elsie Street
I second.
to the capital outlay priority road list. And we have a second by Mr. John Wascom.
For consideration.
And this is for consideration
To be added to.
to be
order.
scored and added to the priority road list.
And we had this issue with Elsie Street.
Yeah, I saw that.
That's correct, but that's been corrected, correct?
It's called two different things. I don't know, can we put it on the list?
Just
as-
put both
Put
of
both
them
of them on there.
and then whichever one they find will be the one they fix.
Here, let me please clarify this for you. Let me clarify this. Okay, it is Elsie Lane, formerly known as Low Lane.
Okay.
So put Low Lane and Elsie Lane on there, which is the same road, and we'll fix that situation.
Thank you.
Sure will.
All right,
Mr. Towers.
so we have the motion, and we have the second.
Who made
The motion was by Jeff Averitt,
And I say.
and it was seconded by John Wascom.
Agreed, that's right.
All right. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No? Awesome. All right. Oh, man. Item number 23.
Really?
Discussion of installation of speed bumps on D. Hutchinson Road located off of Highway 442 in Holden, Louisiana. Okay, I'm gonna try to make this as short and sweet as possible. I know that the night is becoming long.
Yes.
All right, so
30 minutes.
I was contacted by an outstanding citizen of Livingston Parish who lives in Holden, Louisiana. That's right, he lives off of 442 and he lives on D. Hutchinson Road.
All right.
And although I'll try to keep individuals from speeding down this dead-end parish road, it's become a problem. Mr. Sammy lost his son recently. I'm not trying to make you feel sorry for the situation. I want you to vote how you want, but I'm a little emotional about it. He lost his son recently, and he's trying to raise his son's grandkids. And his son's grandkids like to play in the street. And people, they're just in a hurry these days, okay? And they just won't stop flying down this dead-end parish road doing 50 miles an hour in a 15-mile-an-hour zone, okay? So he asked me to see if there was anything I could do to help him. I know speed bumps are not popular, but I do think they're effective. And I do think that the people that live on this road should have a right and a say-so on whether or not they want speed bumps on their road. So I didn't make a promise, but I told him that I thought that if he could get 75% of the people that live on this dead end, not a cut-through road, dead end public road, to agree, the people that own the property on the road, to agree that they would be okay with speed bumps, because all will have to slow down and gently go over, that we possibly could put speed bumps on this road. So I'll put this on the agenda so we can discuss it. So see how everybody feels about it, you know. And to me, I don't see where it's very expensive. You know, a lot of people say there's a liability issue. I think if we put a sign out there that says, speed bump ahead, you better slow down. Maybe it should say, slow down please, okay, something to that effect. But I think it would be acceptable. And I want to try it and see if it works. And I'm sure possibly there may be those after they thought they had it that may hate it and want it pulled up, and it may be a great thing. I just want to try it. So it's a blacktop parish road. If anybody has any questions, let's just talk about it.
Are you talking about speed bumps or speed humps? There's a difference.
Yeah.
And that question is a great question because I don't actually know the answer. He said speed bumps. A lot of people talk about speed humps. I talked to Mr. Bubba Harris, who said that his daughter lives in a subdivision in Baton Rouge that has a certain type of speed bump, and it's a good thing. And so I wonder if we could send this back to the ordinance committee to discuss, maybe writing an ordinance that allows it.
Well, it's
I mean, I don't know.
It's my understanding that a speed bump is, let me come that a different direction. A speed hump are the ones that you see that are prefabricated. Yeah, and they're pricey. Now, I'm just saying, it's a little more than just throwing some asphalt out there in the shape of a bump and, slowing people down.
I think that's considered speed bumps.
Yeah, it is a speed bump right there, I think. Yeah.
Well, the ones I was telling Shane about, where my daughter lives, they're actually, concrete. And they slope up so far, then they're kind of flat on the top, but it serves its purpose, you know. It's not
Does
one
the
of them
parish
just jump
allow
over.
them now? The parish doesn't allow them now.
Well, let me say this. I have seen nothing in writing that says you can't do it. And I also have seen in writing where state law allows it. It allows municipalities and local governments to put speed bumps on public roads. So we can do it if we want to. It's not against the law.
Speed bumps or speed humps? Because I mean,
The law, in the code, it says speed bump.
So you're
But
telling,
it doesn't matter. I don't think that, I mean, I think that's pretty much,
But-
pretty
so-
much
so
the
so
same
you're telling me
thing.
the state says we can go out there in Highway 63 and put speed bumps?
Now, that's a state highway now.
not a parish road.
Okay.
No, that's a state one.
This, Mr. Moody,
Yes, sir.
would it, I mean, I know I don't put you on, like, I'm sure the legal library, you know everything and retain everything, so would there be a liability if you did put signage and you did put one down? Or, you know,
Yeah, it is a concern in a lot of cities, and that's one reason, that's just one of the reasons they're not favored. Another argument that's often raised is that it can slow down, police cars and ambulances and fire trucks from accessing roads. And it could create some damage to cars that get hit if you don't have adequate signing, so. But it's done in other places, and other cities have taken it on as a
Gotcha.
liability.
And what about our school bus drivers with kids in the back of the bus and they hitting the speed bump? You take that into consideration?
how long is this road, Shane?
Less than a mile.
So pretty long.
It goes back in.
Well, I mean, I didn't measure it. I mean, I could go
Yeah.
back.
No.
But it's more than it's more than 100 yards, what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's more than 100
All
yards.
right, okay. All right.
I'd say, if I had to guess, half a
Dude, we talked about this for
Or
like
less.
2 months back in 16, about speed.
Well, we
bumps.
talked about it whenever plantation. was
Right,
on.
they were wanting it, and we
And
were saying, I
that's
think
what I
we
was
even
going-
said that they had to pay for them, didn't we?
Yes.
mile. The man's willing to pay for them. I just didn't know.
You just
on
wanna
the
make
tech-
sure it's okay, yeah.
Well, I didn't know how that would work. How does a private citizen pay for something that goes on a public road? How, is that possible?
Make a donation to the parish, yeah.
Yeah.
The man said he'd pay for it.
We need lots of that.
Inadvertently pays for it, I guess, for you.
Yeah. Well, that's.
You want to send it back to discussion to the
Ms.
ordinance
Chris
committee?
said they can make a donation.
We
to the
used to
parish.
say no, and at least now we're looking at things and saying, maybe this is something we have to do.
Did you want to send it back to committee?
Yeah, let's
If you do, that's good, we
Yeah,
can
that's
do it
good.
in 2 weeks.
Okay.
let's send it back to the ordinance committee. Let's talk about it.
5:30.
I wanted to try to make an effort to see and try it on this road. And if it works out, it's a good thing. I mean,
Where he's wanting to place it, how far, is it about the middle ways
well,
down?
we need to talk about that.
Yeah, cause if it's right at the end,
Right.
Yeah.
doesn't do any good, either end doesn't do any good.
You get all the residents to sign on?
Well, we'll have to talk about
Have
that
to
too.
get all that, let's send it back to ordinance committee, we'll look at it, well, I'll be here, cause it'll be on.
All right, so we don't need a
Sunday.
motion to send it back to the
No.
ordinance committee
No.
meeting, right?
No.
All right, so
Just
let's
discussion.
move forward. Let's send it to the ordinance committee
Chad,
meeting.
where you going?
Can you write that down to put that on the ordinance committee agenda?
Gotcha.
All right, thank y'all. All right, district attorney report.
No report.
Now, you know Gary's gonna wanna talk about that.
He's on the TV interview, I believe.
No report from district attorney? Gary Frog Talbot, do you have anything to say about the ordinance committee meeting we recently
Yeah,
had?
we had a good ordinance committee meeting. Everything that we discussed, we picked up.
You know what I mean?
And we've taken care of it here at the
Can you-
council. So I think I'm speaking for the chairman when I say, I am the
You
co-chair.
know what, John, you're right about that.
I
It
am
was
the
a very
co-chair.
effective meeting. I felt like we got a lot accomplished, and we were able to carry it right over into the council meeting.
So.
And I think that's the goal from
It's gonna
pushing
even
back
get
the
better
council
as it-
meeting.
Yeah.
I have no
think-
further report.
I really think this is gonna work out. Okay, anything on the finance committee?
No, we had the regular finance committee meeting, before the last parish council meeting, so. Yeah, we got the budget, so.
We're ready to go.
Nothing,
Okay.
nothing really to report, so.
That's excellent.
I'm making
Not,
motion
whoa, 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 whoa. I got something to say.
I have something to say too.
That's it first.
Okay, we're gonna get you next, I promise. All right, so Miss Tammy Crawford has asked that we announce the March 10th, 2019 golf tournament that will be held at the Greystone Country Club. The event will benefit the Gifted Kids Travel Program, who will be taking a trip to Italy this summer. There will be door prizes, raffle tickets, there will be a silent auction, there will be an Alfredo dinner provided by Los Sombrios, Sombreros. You can contact them at giftedkidstravel@gmail.com or visit their page on Facebook. There are different levels of sponsorship available, and anyone wanting to make a money auction or raffle item donation are appreciated. So if you like to play golf in any way, shape, or form, go on out there and support these Livingston Parish kids and help them go to Italy.
Italy. You doing holding?
Italy.
That's Italy. Italy. I graduated from Holden High School. Okay, so,
We done took care of yours.
let's go back to Tracy, because he had a councilman comment.
Yes,
We're gonna
I did.
let Gary talk.
Just
I mean, he
a few
was
things I
away.
wanted to-
No, we not. He's
A
talking
few things
tonight.
Go ahead, everybody, seriously, this is serious. Go ahead, Tracy.
A few things I wanted to, bring up to the next ordinance committee meeting, they know about it.
No, I didn't.
The FP, Fire Protection District 4 Chief, James Wascom, called me, and he was concerned or talking about whenever they have a new development come in, apartment complex, a building, you know, they have to go out and do an evaluation. So they have to spend, you know, money, personnel to go out there and do the drawing. And his request to me was, look, whenever they submit this stuff for, after it gets the approval from us, for consideration, they have that in digital format. It just doesn't trickle down to them. So they have to spend money and time to go over there and actually do it themselves, when we could just require them to send it to them. Send it to all the fire districts, and they get it in digital form, and before it can be passed off on, they have to get it like a email certification saying they got it. So, you know, basically, it would wait for us to save money and save them time. We should be able to put that in the red ordinance and say where they can send that.
Gary, would you be okay with, let's add that to the agenda?
Absolutely, we got it on the, that's what we're gonna do, we're putting the agenda together now, we'll get it out pretty quick, but.
I should have known you were already on top of that.
Another quick thing, to set aside,
Go ahead.
another issue is, I was, and I talked to a few of y'all guys about this, about, forming a committee to go over the master plan, as it relates specifically to, the things they addressed, zoning, I guess traffic studies, all those things. There was a lot of work done by our predecessors, and, well, they did, but they laid the groundwork. And I was considering we could come to a term of a number of people we want on the committee. It doesn't have to be us, we can appoint somebody. And they can go over, we can give the directive the things we want to touch first. They can look at what they want to change, what we would like to change about it, and then present it to us to where we can have actionable, intelligent, real-time ideas to where we can present, you know, is.
I like that. Yeah, because the gravity drainage master plan
Yes.
is spoke about in
I'm
there.
a-
You
I'm
know,
a
I'd love to
drainage,
see that.
sewer.
That master plan is great
Zoning.
bedtime reading.
Yeah,
If you having a hard time going to sleep, just read that thing.
it is.
Well, but this would
I
be,
mean, I'm not being disrespectful, I'm just being
this would
honest.
be a committee to improve.
Speaking.
Well, and we can
I
discuss-
guarantee you, I'm gonna appoint somebody to look at it.
We can discuss who we want on, you know, we can get the numbers on the committee and, you know, give us something we can move forward with, you know.
Miss Sandy, didn't they have a committee?
Particularly zoning.
that Worked on it before? You know how many
Yep,
people
all right,
involved?
good stuff, Tracy.
I'm gonna back.
Let's work on that. Let's work on getting the committee.
You know, we'll be fine.
All right, so
I'm not gonna be.
is there any more comments?
Ordinance
He wants to
committee,
talk about the ordinance
ordinance
committee.
committee meeting's gonna meet 5:30 on the 7th of February.
All right. Do we have a motion to adjourn this meeting?
I'll
We have a
offer a
motion by
motion.
Tab Lobel from Springfield, Louisiana.
Why you wanna adjourn?
We have a second by
Might as well
Mr.
stay the
Bubba
night.
Harris.
From 7th Ward, Louisiana.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Is there any discussion from the audience?
I think they're ready to go home.